kafir, 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 Shia, kafir, आओ आम करे ऐलान, kafir, kafir, Shia, kafir, 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 Shia, kafir, कहें सब बच्चे बूढ़े जवान, kafir, kafir, Shia, kafir, kafir, kafir.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to part 5 of reacting to Haqiqatjou's stupid so-called documentary. Another great nasheed, this one, right? Kafir, kafir, Shia, kafir. Very simplistic, but gets the point across, right? I'm sure Haqiqatjou will enjoy this nasheed now as well. So let's continue. I think we were on 2 hours and 30 minutes, I believe. I have saved it here somewhere. Nothing to mention before we start.
It's not.
So let's just get into it, get over with, and call it a day.
It's
Okay,
not an
let's continue.
exaggeration to say that Wahhabis today literally prefer the US, Israel, and European powers over other Muslims. You might have thought I was exaggerating when I said that Wahhabis are working with the enemies of Islam today to slaughter Palestinians and betray and backstab the Ummah. But what do you think now that you know the history and you've seen?
Like, yeah, obviously these Taghut regimes, they are working with Israel. It's not even hidden, right? They're doing it openly, but at the same time, tell me about the synagogues in Tehran. You don't speak about that, right? You don't speak about the many synagogues in Tehran, in Shiraz, in Isfahan, Yazd, Hamdan, Sanandaj, Kermanshah, right? You don't speak about these synagogues. And they're not just synagogues, they're like extreme Jews, and they do their, what's it called? Elijah. Like they make like hijrah to Israel from Iran, and they go and kill Palestinians. And this is an open secret. So they are just, I mean, obviously, what is worse, like breeding like thousands and thousands of Jews to go to Israel and kill Palestinians, let them continue to do that, or helping them like as a regime, like directly. I mean, even the so-called attack that Iran did on the Israelis, right? When was it? Like beginning of this year, I believe, 2025. It was a nothing burger. No person died. I mean, sorry, one person died, one Palestinian. Like, may Allah Azza wa Jal give him Jannah, right? But yeah, they're the same thing.
Their statements in black and white. Still think I'm exaggerating? From the very beginning of the Saudi state, the Wahhabis conspired with the Europeans against the Caliphate and against the wider.
I mean, the Saudis, you mentioned like Ibn Saud, like the only one of them, right? Obviously, as I said, I condemn this. So what?
Remember the Ibn.
Oh, you're speaking so slow. I understand. Like I was asking myself, like, why is he speaking so slow suddenly? But no, it's
Sahman fatwa from 1915. At this time, the Caliphate began calling all the Muslims of the world to support them against the British. The Wahhabis, however, favored the British to destroy the Ottomans, their fellow Muslims, which would allow the Wahhabis to then retake Hijaz and the Arabian Peninsula. This is exactly what happened at the end of the war, leading to the collapse of the Ottoman Caliphate and the seizure of its lands, including.
Yeah, who was it that seized Turkey? It was the Young Turks, the Young Turk movement, like the nationalist movement bred out of like hundreds of years of failed policy by the so-called Turkish Caliphate. Or wait, are you gonna make takfir on Ataturk? You know, the father of the Turks, Kemal Atakafir.
Palestine, which was then given to Jews to establish Israel. And of course, the rest of the Arab lands were divided up into nation states, creating the dysfunctional mess known as the modern Middle East we know today.
But you're against the breaking of borders. You believe that we should, keep the nationalism alive, right?
depressing situation we have today in Palestine and the Middle East is a result of exactly what the Wahhabis worked for. Wahhabis have for centuries stabbed the Ummah in the back. They've repeatedly celebrated when Muslims were attacked and killed by non-Muslims. They've always preferred non-Muslims dominating over the Muslims with so-called incorrect aqidah. Just like Ibn Saud worked with the British to destroy.
Right, it's just you're just babbling on. You haven't given us any evidence except for like the Madkhalis. Are you gonna say that every Madkhali is a Wahhabi and every Wahhabi is a Madkhali, right? And Ibn Saud, like, what do I have to do with Ibn Saud? Like, he's just as much related to me as to you, right? He lived like 150 years ago or something. I don't give a crap about him.
Destroy the Ottomans, Wahhabis in our time helped the US to destroy Iraq in 2 Gulf Wars. And we see many Wahhabis today.
Yeah, so did Iran. Iran helped. They helped the USA fight the Taliban, right? There's a video of them admitting it. Saeed Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, suspended the usual death to America chants at Friday prayers temporarily. The military forces of the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran cooperated with each other to overthrow the Taliban regime, which had conflicts with the government of Iran. Iran's Quds Force helped US forces and Afghan rebels in 2001 uprising in Herat. So, yeah, that's your Islamic State, Haqiqatjou. They helped overthrow the Taliban, which you have been simping for since they took over, right? In 2021, they took over. There haven't been any drone strikes in Afghanistan since then. That was the reason you said you were not going to move to Afghanistan, right? The Islamic State of Afghanistan. You said you weren't going to move there because USA is gonna drone strike you. You think you're so important. Yeah, and no drone strikes have been happening in Afghanistan, so why don't you move there? Take your family with you and move there. You're living in Texas, in America, that has been sending like millions and billions, almost trillions of dollars to Israel to kill Palestinians. You're paying taxes to kill Palestinians, right? While there is this beautiful country of Afghanistan, which coincidentally Iran is conspiring against, but whatever. Why aren't you moving there to live under Sharia? Like your stance is just getting harder and harder to defend. And Iran helped USA against Saddam as well, with the creation of, for instance, the Mahdi army, which then allied with the USA. Obviously, they will use like pawns, right, by Iran to get like more regional power. So they created them. They made them fight the Americans. Americans realized, okay, the Iranians are behind this. We can either like prolong the insurgency or we can just like come to an agreement. And why was this important? Because Iran and Iraq, if you don't know, they are right next to each other on the map. They share a border, a very large border. And yeah, as you can see. So USA will have to like either come to terms with Iran, or they'll have to secure the entirety of this border, and maybe even like start a war against Iran, which they didn't want. So after like 2006, they agreed to make peace with the Mahdi army, so-called Mahdi army. Yeah, you can see it says it's disbanded in 2008, which is not entirely true. They were just like integrated into the security forces. But yeah, it's the same thing. As you can see, they made truce in June, so like not only a year after after the invasion happened, they made truce with the Americans. Yeah, and these are the people that Haqiqatjou considers the true Muslims, the Mujahideen, you know, the ones that have been slaughtering Ahlul Sunnah in Iraq for 20-something years now.
Encouraging and helping the US and Israel to destroy the Muslims in Palestine, Lebanon, Iraq, Iran, and Yemen. This is something no Muslim should ever...
Wait, why did you include Iran? Has America been bombing Iran? To my knowledge, America hasn't been bombing Iran. Not a single bomb has fallen on Iran. So you included these countries. Let's see them again.
2 Gulf Wars. And we see many Wahhabis today encouraging and helping the US and Israel to destroy the Muslims in Palestine.
Okay, Palestine, America has been helping Israel to bomb Palestine. They also like directly sent like special forces into Gaza and stuff like that.
Lebanon, Iraq.
They used to have bases in Lebanon, and if you don't know, like the biggest suicide bombing was done by the I think it was Hezbollah, right, in the 80s, if I remember correctly, on a hospital, and they killed like a lot of American soldiers.
Iraq, Iran.
Iraq, obviously, invasion. And then Iran. But what does Iran have to do with any of this? They haven't fought a battle against Iran. No, like not even a single battle have been fought against Iran. Not a single Iranian has been killed by the Americans or the Israelis.
Iran and Yemen.
Yemen, yeah, obviously America has been bombing Yemen. So why are you like lumping in Iran into this? Obviously, it's so obvious you're trying to like create this axis of resistance narrative. Like, oh, look, they're killing us Muslims in Iran, bro. You haven't like shed a single drop of blood for the Muslims in the world. Come on.
This is something no Muslim should ever forget.
Yeah,
Because the Wahhabis lie
right.
and claim that what distinguishes them from other Muslims is their belief in so-called Tawheed and
La hawla quwwata illa billah. See how he talks about it, like in quotes, so-called Tawheed. Bro, Tawheed is part of Islam. Are you saying, like, he's attacking the word, he is attacking the concept. He's not attacking the Wahhabis, he's attacking the concept of Tawheed. A'udhu billah. Is it not obvious that he's a Dajjal?
following the Salaf. All of this is a propaganda hoax. What distinguishes Wahhabis is takfir and betrayal and backstabbing.
Yeah. Do I have to show like Shiites making takfir on the Muslims, on the Bakris or whatever they call us, right?
Of all other Muslims, allying with non-Muslims against other Muslims, loyalty to the Saudi state over religion, and racism towards non-Saudis. That is the legacy of Wahhabism.
No, that's the legacy of Ibn Saud. Why is it racism towards non-Saudis? Why isn't it racism towards non-Wahhabis? How can that be the legacy of Wahhabism if it's towards Saudis? You're so stupid, man. It's the legacy of Ibn Saud. Okay, just say it as it is. It's the legacy of Ibn Saud. It has nothing to do with Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, right?
Throughout its long history, the Wahhabi state of Saudi Arabia has only ever gone to war with Muslims, never non-Muslims. The Saudi state has always...
Well, if you view Zaydis as non-Muslims, then...
always valued jihad warfare, which is why the Saudi flag features a sword under the Shahada. However, although the Saudis...
like that, how are you making that assumption? It's just a sword. It can be used in the defense as well, bro. Come on. Jihadi warfare? What are you talking about? Are you saying that the Prophet ﷺ also, what did he say? Relied on jihadi warfare because he had sword? The Prophet ﷺ had a sword.
State has existed for almost 300 years in 1744. It's unique in that it has never fought a war against a non-Muslim state in its entire...
Yeah, they fought the Ottomans. How can you say they didn't fight a non-Muslim state when they fought the Ottomans? They raided Karbala. How can you say they didn't fight the non-Muslims? Come on.
History. This is due to nothing other than the Wahhabi doctrine that non-Wahhabi Muslims are kafirs, who are worse than the mushriks who fought the Prophet ﷺ, and they're worse than Jews and Christians.
This is a concept that every Muslim can agree on. Now, again, you're using Ibn Saud, who is not even like the authority among the Wahhabis. I mean, he was the person in power, right? But he's not a religious authority. So using his statements to like paint all the Wahhabis that way, right? But if we come back to it, all Muslims can agree that a murtad will always be worse than a kafir asli, who is from Ahlul Kitab, but even like other kafir asli. Why? Because if a murtad, if the time of repentance has passed, his time is done, okay? If a kafir asli, you give him, when you meet him, you give him options. It's repentance, it can be jizya, it can be leaving the land, etc. You cannot say to a murtad, you have to leave the land, okay? So a murtad will always be worse. Why? Because he turned on the religion. He turned on the religion, while a kafir, he never accepted the religion. So how can you be worse if you say, no, I cannot accept that? And while somebody who says, yeah, I accepted it and I don't like it, I hate it, I hate what I used to believe. Yeah, obviously he's worse, right?
Let us look at the Saudi state's military history. Notice that in every conflict, the other side is Muslims.
Okay, let's see.
Wahhabi wars of expansion from 17...
yeah, that's a war of expansion against the Ottomans, right? And the Shiites. So that's their name was Mushrik, definitely.
44 to 1818. The combatants were Arabian tribes, local rulers, and the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
The Ottoman Saudi...
So it's basically Ottoman Empire and their lackeys.
War of 1811, the Saudi Rashidi War of 1903, the Saudi Hashemite Wars from 1918 to 1925.
I don't know. I don't know these. I can tell you, like the Ottomans and Saudi wars, obviously they were, justified from the side of the Saudis, and like every Muslim should be easily be able to justify this. There's no reason not to justify fighting the Ottomans at that point.
The Kuwait Najd War from 1919 to 1920, the Saudi Yemeni War of 1934.
Again, like I don't know about these wars. Like who exactly did they fight and for what? But then again, like after the 1900s, so somewhere around here is when they fell off, right? The Wahhabis, they fell off. So I don't have anything to say.
The Gulf War of 1990, intervention in Yemen from 2015 to the present.
Like let's see what wars Iran has participated in. So the modern state of Iran since 1979, they have fought against. Let's see here. So they have fought against the Iranians, right? So they're, according to Haqiqatjou, they're Muslims. So they have fought against Muslims. The imperial state, fought against Muslims. Fought against. I don't know who these are. Oh, so this is like from Ahwaz or something. Yeah. So these are like the Arabs in Iran. They kill them. They kill the Arabs in Iran. The Muslims. Let's see next. So then they fought Iraq and other Iranians. Yeah. So they killed Muslims, right? Then they fought other Iranians again and again and again. Like this is the Kurdish Democratic Party. Yeah. So these are the Kurds. They fought the Kurds. And they killed the Kurds. They are Muslims, right? So they were killing Muslims against the Arabs. And then who are these? Yeah, so this is another movement in Ahwaz, Ansar al-Furqan. So they killed the Muslims again. All the opponents are Muslims. Taliban, Al-Qaeda, these are all Muslims, right? Jundallah, Jaish al-Adl, all Muslims. PJAK. So these are, I think, PKK, right? But still, according to Haqiqatjou, they are Muslims. Afghanistan, yeah, they have had like clashes constantly. Again, Muslims. Free Syrian Army and others, Muslims, right? Obviously Muslims. Other groups in Iraq, Muslims, right? Who are these? Kurdistan Freedom. Oh, man, there's so many. Like Kurdish groups. Yeah, whatever. So they're like Muslims, right? Again, Iraqi Muslims. And now, like the last point on the list is the Gaza war, right? It's the last point. 2023. So for 2 years since their existence, for like 50 years, they haven't fought any like non-Muslim, as Haqiqatjou will define them, right? They haven't fought any single non-Muslim. And suddenly they are fighting against Israel. But like if you know what actually happened, like the direct attack by Iran with the drones and missiles, it didn't result in anything. They did it twice, right? First they bombed like some airbase or something. Nobody was hurt because they told them like 3 days beforehand. They're like, we're gonna bomb you at this time. And so the Saudis and the Jordanians and all the allies of Israel, America, they could like get together warplanes and stuff like that and prepare like their like air defenses and stuff like that to shoot down most of the missiles and drones. So how is that an attack? And then this last one was when they bombed like some places in Israel again with drones and missiles. Some say one person died amongst the Israelis. It's unconfirmed. We know only one Palestinian that was crushed. May Allah Azza wa Jal give him Jannah. Like I said again, crushed by the Iranian like missile booster in West Bank. So thank you, Iran, for continuing on your legacy of killing Sunni Muslims.
Closest that the Saudi state has ever come to fighting non-Muslims is its symbolic participation in the Arab-Israeli wars between the 1940s and 19.
Yeah, so it's the same thing as Iran's participation in the Gaza war, right? They It's the first time they like did anything, right? You could say they supported like Hezbollah in their like 2006 war against Israel, but I mean, come on. They only gave him like weapons and money to fight. Like Iran didn't participate. It's not the same thing.
70s. But again,
If what like all these governments and people saying, then the Wahhabis all over the world are like creating all sorts of like insurgencies and battles and wars and stuff like that. Oh, the Wahhabis. The Wahhabis are everywhere. Like Russians, they say the Caucasus insurgency is Wahhabis, right? Iraqi government say it's Wahhabis. I mean, even Assad said that the Free Syrian armies are army are Wahhabis, right? So, I mean, come on. If we're gonna look at it that way, then Wahhabis are like the most like Giga Chad Muslims out there, right? Because they're starting like all these insurgencies everywhere, like no care in the world, only want the akhirah, right? But that's far from the truth, unfortunately. But in his mind, like the Wahhabis, right? We have done much more to support Islam than these Rafidites have ever done.
again, this was purely symbolic. Compare this with other Muslim nations. Egypt fought the British and Israel. Indonesia fought the Dutch. Algeria fought the French. Libya fought the Italians. The Ottomans fought the Russians and the British. Pakistan and Bangladesh have fought multiple wars against India. Iran has fought Russia and Israel.
Iran has fought Russia and Israel. When did they fight Israel? Why did you add Israel there? And when did they fight Russia? I think like Second World War, because the Soviet Union wanted to invade Iran. I believe. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe there were like some other instances that I'm not like I don't know about.
Lebanon and Palestine have fought Israel.
He's gonna mention Bosnia. Okay, let's see. Lebanon and Palestine have fought Israel. No, well, kinda. It depends. Like if you look at the government of Lebanon, then no, not really, right? They're the puppets of Israel. Palestine. Are you gonna say the Palestinian Authority in West Bank has fought Israel? Come on, when? Like 100 years ago? Give me a break.
Bosnia and Albania have fought Serbia.
Yes, Bosnia and Albania did fight Serbia. Thank you for mentioning it, Haqiqatjou. But did you know that Iran has better relations with Serbia than they have with Bosnia and Albania? And also, like, Albania didn't fight Serbia. When was that? Like, Balkan Wars, like 1913? That's more than 100 years ago, if he's thinking about that. Maybe he's thinking about Kosovo, the Albanians living in Kosovo. Yeah, but Iran and Serbia relations, they are much stronger, much stronger than relations between Bosnia and Iran. Why? Because Iran hates us. They hate us because we did not align with their Rafidism, right? We don't like Rafidism in Bosnia. I mean, there are a lot of people that are like trying to push for it, especially the like extreme Sufis, like nothing you have ever seen Sufis, okay? Because they read like Ali Izetbegovic book on the Islamic consciousness, and I don't know, because he was a jahil. Like let's be real, he was a jahil. He didn't know what the Iranians were, and they have been like influenced by him, and now they believe that Iran is like the Islamic State, that Bosnia should also be, and stuff like that. Bro, that was like in the 90s. We know much more about reality. Yeah, anyway, Iran and Serbia have strong relations. Iran is sending them lots of weapons. They're like teaching them to do these drones that Iran has gotten really good at, right? How to build these drones, who then they're going to use against Bosnia, against the Bosnian Muslims. Is this like the Islamic State for you? Teach the kuffar to kill Muslims? And there's like this claim that the Iranians, they sent fighters to Bosnia, and then like Clinton gave the green light to supply the Bosnians with weapons. These are all lies, bro. There was an embargo on Bosnia. It was literally impossible to supply weapons to Bosnia. Who put the embargo in place? USA put the embargo in place. So this is like contradictory, and only like idiots fall for this propaganda. There's no like substantive proof. Like, where are the weapons they keep talking about? Where are the Iranians? Like, only a couple thousand mujahideen entered Bosnia, and they were like They speak about them to this day, the Mujahideen, these like 400. Where were these 400 ERGC? Why isn't there like a single picture of them? Come on.
Yeah, and the list goes on and on. But when it comes to the one and only Wahhabi state in history, they prefer to fight and kill other Muslims only.
Yeah, because the modern state of Saudi Arabia was created by the British. So, like, they are the pawns of the West.
Remember the Salafi tree at the beginning of the presentation? Unfortunately, Wahhabism has hijacked the legacies of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Ibn Taymiyyah. This is why so many Salafis are so sensitive about Ibn Abdul Wahhab. These Salafis are generally good Muslims who are yet to be red-pilled about the nature of Wahhabism. They don't really know the history of Ibn Abdul Wahhab and his true teachings because there's been a massive propaganda campaign to hide crucial facts about the history of Wahhabism.
I mean, again, what is the main teaching that you criticize is worshipping graves. Like, you can talk about everything else that happened, but if you're like Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he didn't say ally with the British. He didn't say don't fight wars against the kuffar. That was not his words. How are you twisting this so much? He said don't worship graves. That was his like only critique. Don't do istighatha to the dead against the so-called Muslims around him, right? That was his only critique. How are you gonna pin the blame on Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab on all of this, right? And imagine if he didn't like do his dawah, right? If he was an unknown, like if he just ignored it all, or said, "I'll focus on myself. I will not focus on the other people," even though they're doing shirk. What would have happened? Like the people there, they will be worshiping graves. Like people going to do Hajj, they will go do Hajj to see the grave of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and not to go to the Kaaba, not to follow the Sunnah. So obviously, the Saudi state today, they're bad. Obviously, they need to be changed. And if you have been following the news, they've been like this, like masked people in Saudi Arabia, like young people, youngsters who are like apparently following the security forces and attacking and stuff like that. And inshallah, there will be change in Saudi Arabia. It will be renamed to Arabia, and Bahrain and Qatar and Oman and Yemen. All of these places, they will all become Arabia, inshallah. Say Ameen. Anyway, yeah, so obviously he had a positive influence on Islam in general, not on the political sphere, but he was never into politics. He was only into Islam. So pinning this on the Wahhabis, I mean, come on, you should have like after when you start talking about Ibn Saud and the British, you should have changed the talk to Saudis, because that has nothing to do with the Imam who lived like 150 years before they started dealing with the British. I mean, well, like, what can I expect from you? You're a Rafidi. You keep lying and twisting the truth. Have I lied and twisted the truth throughout this entirety of my reaction? Have I if I was twisting the truth, I would say, yeah, but you see, maybe the Saudis they had a wheel. They have they thought they were doing the correct thing and stuff like. No, I'm gonna condemn them. Obviously, I'm gonna condemn them. It's so obvious. They were working with the British and they hated what they called mushrikun. Everybody was a mushrik. They did takfir adar. I mean, come on, bro. Obviously, I'm gonna condemn them. I'm not gonna twist it for the sake of the Saudis. I don't give a crap about them. Come on, bro. I mean, grow up. You're acting like a child.
Wahhabism. Today, Wahhabis hate to be called Wahhabis, but prior to the mid-20th century, Wahhabis had no problem calling themselves Wahhabis. For example, the leading Wahhabi scholar, Sulaiman ibn Sihman,
No Muslim, no matter if he's a follower of the Imam, Ibn Abdul Wahhab, no matter if he's a follower of him or he hates him, no Muslim should be mad at being called a Wahhabi. No Muslim. Wait, let me bring it up. Wait. I talked to this Jahil yesterday who kept saying Mr. Wahhab, Mr. Wahhab, A'udhu Billah. Unfortunately, he deleted all his tweets, so I can't, as you can see. He made a lot of claims and then he just deleted everything. I think he's a Persian pretending to be a Bosniak because he had the image of Ali Izetbegovic. Anyway, he kept saying, did Mr. Wahhab say this? Did Mr. Wahhab say that? Stuff like that, A'udhu Billah. And I told him once and he kept doing it. So I told him again, A'udhu Billah, I corrected you earlier, yet you continue with this blasphemy. Wahhab equals Allah. Get it through your skull. And if you didn't know, Wahhab is one of Allah's names. It means bestower. Al-Wahhab. So saying Mr. Wahhab, like, like Audu Billah, it's like you're talking about Allah, Audu Billah, right? So, in any case, yeah, and no Muslim should have an issue being called a Wahhabi. You are a Wahhabi because you follow Allah, okay? You follow the Al-Wahhab, okay? But so many people are ignorant, pretending that they're Muslims and stuff like that.
And wrote a work titled The Divine Gifts in the Defense of the Mohammedan Wahhabi Sect. But because of Wahhabi behavior, the Wahhabi brand had quickly become tarnished. Basically, from the time of Ibn Abdul Wahhab until the early 20th century, the wider Muslim Ummah considered Wahhabis to be Khariji deviants. This was a massive PR problem. This is actually acknowledged by Hussein ibn Ghannam. Ibn Ghannam is one of the most famous Wahhabi scholars. He was a contemporary of Ibn Abdul Wahhab and was a direct associate of Ibn Abdul Wahhab's sons. Ibn Ghannam wrote the earliest history of Wahhabism, which is known as Tarikh Najd, which we cited earlier in the presentation. Although Ibn Ghannam is a strong supporter of Ibn Abdul Wahhab, he acknowledges the fact that virtually all the scholars of the era had declared Ibn Abdul Wahhab to be a Khariji and a deviant outside of Ahlul Sunnah. Ibn Ghannam says, the majority of scholars from various regions and eras asserted definitively that this individual, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, is among the most evil of the misguided, the impious, and the disbelievers, and one of the worst of the Kharijites and depraved people. So even the biggest supporters of Ibn Abdul Wahhab recognize how despised Ibn Abdul Wahhab.
Again, let's talk about Omar Mukhtar. This lion of Libya, he killed so many Italians. He killed so many Italians. Alhamdulillah. You know, we don't like the Italian colonizers. Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier in the last video, Umar Mukhtar, he was a Khariji according to the Italians, right? He was a Khariji. They forced the imams, you know, so-called imams of his time, to sign a fatwa saying that he's a Khariji because he was fighting the Italians. He was doing khuruj. Is Haqiqatjou gonna say that he was a Khariji? He literally fought the scholars. Okay, he fought the Muslims, he fought the scholars, you know, in citations that were working with the Italians. I mean, come on, bro.
Really was. But things changed during the reign of Abdulaziz bin Abdurrahman al-Saud. He's widely known as Ibn Saud and the founder of the modern state of Saudi Arabia. In 1925, Ibn Saud conquered the Hijaz, which caused widespread opposition from the world's Muslims. The world's Muslims didn't want to see Mecca and Medina overrun by these Khariji Wahhabis. Ibn Saud responded to this backlash by denying that the Saudi state was a deviant Khariji government. Ibn Saud wanted to integrate with the rest of the Sunni world, so he had to start eliminating or downplaying many of the Khariji teachings
He had to do taqiyya, like the 12ers, right?
Of Ibn Abdul Wahhab. Of course, the more hardcore Wahhabis didn't like these reforms, so they rebelled against Ibn Saud in the 1927 Ikhwan revolt. But Ibn Saud ultimately crushed this revolt and proceeded with his campaign to make Wahhabism more palatable to the Sunni masses. This is where
So he changed the religion of the, you know, of the imam to fit the masses that they used to make takfir on, the masses that worship graves, right? So what are you saying exactly, Haqiqatjou, that Wahhabism, like, they are doing taqiyya, but they have been doing taqiyya for 100 years now then, right? And they they changed their religion to be like everybody else. So what is your exact critique of them now?
Where Rashid Rida comes in. Rashid Rida was the famous student of Muhammad Abdu. Muhammad Abdu is the famous Muslim reformer who collaborated with the British colonial powers in the 19th century to modernize Islam in Egypt. Rashid Rida was Abdu's closest and most influential student. By the early 20th century, Rashid Rida became the most important figure in terms of publishing Islamic books. He published the reformist journal Al-Manar. He also printed and distributed many key Islamic texts. But then Rashid Rida made a monumental decision that would change the history of the Ummah. Rida formed a partnership with Ibn Saud to reform Wahhabi religious teachings. This reform meant that Wahhabi...
Yeah, so they changed their religion. They changed their religion, they were pawns. What is your critique exactly?
would start adopting certain ideas from Abdu and Rida. Now, why would Rashid Rida be interested in Wahhabism in the first place? To understand this, we first have to understand that Muhammad Abdu and Rashid Rida were modernists. As modernists, they wanted the Muslim world to catch up with Europe so that Muslims could progress, just like the Europeans had. So how could this...
Wait, but your critique of the Wahhabis were that they were like extremists, they were extreme Puritans, okay? That was your critique of them. They didn't see like any difference, like if you did you know, that it can be an excuse of ignorance for worshipping a stone. They didn't believe in that. But now you're saying that they're modernists. Suddenly they're modernists. Like, when did this happen? You're not explaining this very well. Why didn't they like ally with the British at the beginning, right? When the Imam was around. You're not explaining history at all. You're just suddenly they're like made a like 180-degree turn, and they're totally different, and you haven't explained how they came to this. You're talking as if they always were like this. Obviously, they weren't. Otherwise, they would have been doing like different stuff in the beginning.
Happen? Well, they believe that what caused Europe to modernize was reforming Christianity. Christianity had a Protestant Reformation which eliminated the superstitions and backwards beliefs of the European Christians. By eliminating those superstitions, Christians could become rational and scientific, and this led to modernization of Europe. Muslim modernists like Abdu and Rida wanted to do the same thing for Islam. They wanted to modernize Islam by eliminating all superstitious and backwards beliefs and practices and basically turn Islam into a type of simplified, rationalistic Enlightenment deism. Abdu and Rida equated this new simplified rationalistic deism with what they consider to be Tawheed. This was their new.
Why are you putting everything in quotes, bro? Come on. These people, if they were trying to modernize Islam, obviously they were kuffar. So why don't you just make takfir on them? Like, I can make takfir on them. If they were trying to change the religion, I'll say, if somebody, if he says openly, his statement is, I'm going to change the religion is not perfect, he's a kafir. He's a kafir. You don't need to ask him of his intentions. Why did he try to change the religion or whatnot? No, he's a kafir. Why can't you make a takfir on him instead of like attacking words such as tawheed? A'udhu billah, man, you're so pathetic.
New definition of Tawheed. All other aspects of Islam were downplayed or eliminated. For example, Abdu famously claimed that there is no such thing as jinn, and anywhere that the Quran mentions jinn, it actually means microbes or germs. In this way,
well, that's great for you. That means that the people worshipping the jinn, they weren't actually worshipping jinn. They were worshipping the microbes and germs who are there. You know, so theoretically, it's not shirk, right?
The superstitious belief in jinn is eliminated in favor of a scientific interpretation. Abdu and Rida wanted to similarly downplay or in some cases even eliminate doctrines involving angels, miracles, the supernatural power of Sufi awliya, magic, amulets, seeking barakah, and on and on. They considered all these Islamic doctrines to be associated with irrational, non-scientific superstitions. They consider these doctrines superstitious because they depart too greatly from a scientific, materialistic worldview. Now this is where things get interesting. Abdu and Rida redefined the concept of shirk to include these non-scientific superstitions. If you believe in miraculous karamat of the pious awliya, that's not only irrational superstition, that's also shirk. So this is how Abdu and Rida not only redefined
yeah, so these people are obviously kuffar, they're murtadeen. Yeah, simple as
Tawheed, but they also redefined shirk. And they made it their mission to spread this so-called Tawheed, which is just a kind of rationalistic deism.
I mean, I don't even want to watch this.
Pre-modern Islamic teachings do not as irrational superstition. But rationalistic actions with Islamic tradition, it's even endorsed by figures like Imam Ahmad and Ibn Taymiyyah. These have
there is nothing to refute here. These people are just mushrikeen.
The only problem, Salafism. The term Salafism was coined by Rashid Rida in the 20th century. A lot of Salafis don't know this fact.
Wait, so no scholar before that talked about the Salaf? Are you retarded? Are you literally retarded?
Because it's been repressed for the simple reason that Rashid Rida is a known reformist modernist.
I mean, Salaf, you know, the term Salafism, it's kind of broad, to be honest. Like, you could say that Abu Jahl, he's from the Salaf, which he is. That's why we talk about Salaful Saleh, the rightly guided predecessors, right?
In any case, Rashid Rida developed a strong relationship with the early 20th century Saudi government, which had just taken control of the Hijaz. Rida used his...
And Haqiqatjou is not going to ask why suddenly these Puritan Wahhabis were killing people for the minor infringement, or sorry, not infringement, yeah, maybe it is infringement on the religion, right? Somebody changing the religion, doing something that's not from the religion as they saw it. Why they suddenly wanted to change the religion? Like, he's not going to ask the question like how they suddenly went 180 degrees, right, and became totally different in terms of religion. He's not going to question that at all. It just is.
Journal Al-Manar and other publications to launch an international propaganda campaign to convince the Muslims of the world that Wahhabism was actually not a deviant Khariji doctrine and that everything they had heard about Ibn Abdul Wahhab was false. Meanwhile, Rida sent many of his students to advise on the reform of religious and educational institutions within Saudi Arabia itself. For example, students like Taqiyuddin al-Hilali and members associated with the Egyptian organization Ansar as-Sunnah al-Muhammadiyah. Since this time, Saudi has aggressively promoted reformed Wahhabism around the world under the title of Salafism. But unfortunately, this is the reality. The good news is Salafism can be purified of these elements.
I mean, Salafism has nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. It might have started with them, like the term Salafiyah, But anybody can become a Salafi just by reading the book of the Salafs and agreeing with them. That's how you become a Salafi. You know, implementing what the Salafus Salih used to teach.
We can cut off the rotten branch from.
I'm not talking about like, don't misunderstand me. Like, partially I'm talking about like Ibn Taymiyyah and Imam Ahmed and you know, Abu Hanifa even, etc. Rahimullah on them all. But like, I'm talking about their interpretation of what the Prophet and the Sahaba were upon, right? So that's when I say Salafus Salih, I'm thinking about them, because we know that they were rightly guided, right? The people after that, we don't know if they were rightly guided or not, but we assume they are based on them like giving evidences, etc. Not going on superstitions, as Haqiqatjou is saying, and not like going to dalala, right? Like somebody said this and said, so he's gonna say it, and the person after him is gonna say it, etc. As these Maturidis went astray and the Sufis, etc. We only follow that which is from the Quran and Sunnah, and we follow the people that have interpreted it to their fullest, okay, and implemented it to their fullest, which are the Imams of Islam. Uh, Imam Ibn Abdul Wahhab, obviously one of them. Now, everybody is a human, right? Humans do make mistakes, so don't assume that everything that these people, these Imams, have said is 100% true. Maybe it's 99.9% true, but there will be some falsehood, there will be some misconceptions, there will be some misunderstandings, etc. We follow that which we see is correct, and we abandon that which isn't. Easy as.
The Salafi tree. Let me make something absolutely clear. I'm a big fan of the Salafi movement insofar as.
What? So he's gonna attack Salafism? Oh, this is the shaitan. This is the work of shaitan. Ya Imam, Madad, Ya Imam. And then he's gonna say, I'm a big fan of Salafism. Yeah, because you used to say you were a Salafi Athari, right? I'm sure that's what you used to say.
As the Salafi movement upholds the methodology of Imam Ahmed in fiqh and aqidah. When it comes to that Salafism, I'm a fanboy. But as we saw, the Salafi movement is not just Imam.
Yeah, fanboy. That's the correct Islamic terminology, right?
Ahmed and Ibn Taymiyyah. So if you ask me, what do I think of Sheikh Al-Albani, Ibn Uthaymeen, and Uthman Al-Khamis, I have a.
So these all people, he used like statements from them all. I don't know if he used from Sheikh Uthaymeen to defend not making takfir on the Shiites. I saw statements he shared from Albani and Uthman Al-Khamis. Obviously, they were like misconstrued and like twisted. Obviously, all of these people make takfir on the Rafida. There's no question about it.
A great deal of respect for these Salafi scholars, even if I don't agree with everything they teach. But if you ask me about other Salafis like Abu Mus'ab al-Zarqawi, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
But how they, like, yeah, they're Salafis, they follow the Salaf. But what's the difference? Like, maybe like their approach, right? One of them, like Zarqawi, he fought, he fought jihad against the Americans. Abu Bakr as well, not against Americans. I mean, yeah, he was in it, but I'm talking when he became a leader, right? The only difference is their approach, right? They agree that these, like, for instance, the Rafida Kufar, like all of these three agree that the Rafida Kufar.
Everything they teach.
And Zarqawi agreed that the Rafida are Kufar, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi agreed they are Kufar.
Like Abu Mus'ab al-Zarqawi, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, and other ISIS figures, then no, I obviously don't respect them, and I condemn them.
I mean, like, you condemn them because they acted upon what they believed. I mean, what is the difference between the belief, except the belief of like how the actions should be done? That's the only difference between all of these figures. Like, let's be honest. In that case, Haqiqatjou, he is correct. Like, they are all Wahhabis. I mean, they don't have the correct approach, all of them, right? Like I have said many times, ISIS, they have ghulu. But in any case, they share like the same thought, right? I mean, even the people that you showed in the thumbnail, they're all like, they're all, for instance, see, grave worshipping as kufr. They see Rafida as mushrikun. Yeah, so the only difference between all of these like Salafis and the Wahhabis, what you want to call them, it's like when should what be done, okay? Which is like more of a Shari understanding than like an Aqidah understanding, but whatever.
them as deviants. If you ask me about takfiris like Muhammad Shamsuddin or this Dimashqiyya and other Salafis who takfir great Imams like Imam Ghazali, Nawawi, Ibn Hajar, and others, then no, I find them disgusting.
I mean, look, takfir, even these like extremists in takfir, it is bad. Okay, like let's be honest. These extremists, they bring like a lot of discontent among the Muslim population. The ones that do takfir for no reason, especially like people that go out of their way to talk about, this person from 1000 years ago, everybody thinks he's a Muslim, but I found this one statement in this one book that is without any chain, and it says that he says this, so he's a kafir. Like, come on, man. Like, use your head. Or like some they use like statements from somebody early in life when they were like has deviant beliefs, and they applied them after they died, after they had repented, right? Like, Audu Billah, this is just people following their desires. They want to be like they want to find the kufr statement and make tafsir on this and that person. Come on, it's pathetic, really. It's pathetic. Stop focusing on the people of the past. Okay, follow the people you know are on truth, that you believe are on truth, and the people that you believe went astray, just leave them be, because if you're making like takfir on them for no reason, don't think that there will not be a punishment for you. Okay, if you make takfir on people from 1000 years ago and you're slandering them and calling them all sorts of names and stuff like that, don't think that you won't be punished if you're wrong. Like, why are you risking it? Leave the people be. If somebody, if it's like ambiguous, right? If he died as a Muslim or a Kafir, like for instance Al Ghazali, he was like extreme Ashari. Like I even if I see some statements of like clear kufr, I'm gonna leave them be. Why? Because I don't know if he actually said that or if somebody just said he said that, like one of his haters. So best to just leave it all be. Don't trust it, any of it. Don't focus on the people of today. Like for instance, Haqiqatjou, we see him talking kufr openly. Like he's talking about this is kufr bawaha, what he's doing, right? Focus on him. Call him out. Don't follow him. Make sure that other people don't follow him. Stop talking about imams, and not even imams, but like random people, even from 1000 years ago, and you're a kafir if you don't do takfir on them. Man, get alive. Come on.
And if you ask me about madkhalis like Muhammad Raslan or Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, they're also disgusting, bootlicking deviants, palace scholars.
See, that's the correct, that's the first correct thing Haqiqatjou has said throughout this entire video. Yeah, call out the people of today, the people that are leading other people astray, like you, for instance, Haqiqatjou. Call out people that are leading people astray today and making the situation for Muslims worse, okay? We don't care about the people from 1000 years ago or even 100 years ago. We don't care about that. Even like Ibn Saud, I don't care about him. I don't give a crap about him, okay? If he said those statements or not, I don't care. Like his actions led to this modern Saudi state and what it is today. So I don't care. That's like on like his sins to bear, right? It doesn't matter if he was a kafir or a Muslim or mushrik, whatever, murtad, whatever, or a Jew even. I don't care. I really don't care. Fight Mohammed bin Salman today. This mushrik that is like taking in women that sing and dance literally naked and scream, "I'm a goddess worshiping. I'm a goddess worshiping." This happened a couple of years ago, and even worse things are happening today. So call out the stuff we see today. We don't care about people that happened in the past. I mean, come on, move on.
There's nothing strange about making these distinctions between different Salafi groups. In fact, Salafis themselves make these distinctions among themselves. But what is not often recognized by Salafis is that the worst tendencies of Salafism come directly from Ibn Abdul Wahhab. Both Madkhalism and ISIS should be seen as the rotten fruits of the Najdi da'wah. Madkhalis, for example. To learn more about Madkhalis, watch our video essay, The Madkhali Virus. The key characteristic of the Madkhalis that they take from Ibn Abdul Wahhab is undying loyalty to the House of Saud. Just
when are you going to make a video on the axis of resistance? Are you not going to make a video on the axis of resistance and the Rafidites and how they have been killing like hundreds of thousands of Muslims in the past 50 years alone? Like maybe even millions of Muslims. Come on, man. Like, Madkhalis are bad, but what the hell are you then?
Just like Ibn Abdul Wahhab tied himself and his dawah inextricably to Ibn Saud, similarly the Madkhalis have redefined all of Islam to mean complete subservience to Gulf monarchies. Also, following in the footsteps of Ibn Abdul Wahhab, the Madkhalis have extreme hatred for the Ummah. If you've ever had the displeasure of dealing with these bootlickers, you know this well. The only Muslims they have any brotherly kindness for are Muslims who pledge allegiance to the Saudi monarchy. Everyone else is a deviant who at minimum must be boycotted. And if someone dares to publicly
I honestly don't care about Madkhalis.
the Gulf monarchies, then he's branded a Khariji or even an apostate who should be killed. This is how Madkhalis, following in the footsteps of Ibn Abdul Wahhab,
we're gonna
have
see
made
ISIS
the
soon. Let's see what he has to say about ISIS.
It's Wahhab feared Huraymila for of Islam with the political power of the House of Saud. Shadow of a doubt, the deviants.
Okay, let's see what he has to. Like he hates ISIS so much. He hates them only because they killed Rafidites. That's the only reason he hates them. It's pathetic. Like how much of a soy boy he is.
Group that openly preaches and teaches the full Khariji doctrine of Ibn Abdul Wahhab today is ISIS. Let me make it absolutely clear: most supporters of Ibn Abdul.
I mean, look, ISIS, they took the flag of the Prophet. I mean, it's not a flag; it's a symbol, right? It's it's from his signet ring, I think it's called. I'm not sure. Like it's a ring that you press on letters, and so this was a seal of the Prophet, which he had on his hand, right? And then they put the Shahada above it, you know, the La ilaha illallah, and people are like as soon as you have that flag, you're an ISIS, you're a terrorist, you're a Wahhabi terrorist for having that flag. And I've seen so-called Muslims deface the flag. This flag, right? Burn it, stamp on it, turn it upside down, stuff like that. A'udhu billah, man. This is Kufr Akbar. This is the flag of the Muslims. It doesn't matter who uses it. And the way Haqiqatjou is like showing this, like he should have more sense. These people, they might have like misused it. But this is our flag. This is the flag of the Muslims. So what the hell are you doing, man? You should not be showing. This is just making it worse for Muslims. I saw like people in Bosnia. The police raided them. They took like away all their phones and like computers and stuff like that they had at home. Right? Took everything. Stole even their money. Okay. Why? Because they had flown this exact flag outside their home because they were Muslims. So they put up this flag. I think it was like Eid, Bayram. It was Eid. And they put up this flag, you know, to celebrate. Police came, took all of their stuff. Never returned anything. They got a lot of problem. Why? Because they said this is the ISIS flag. So Haqiqatjou, you're part of the problem. You're making life worse for Muslims everywhere.
Abdul Wahhab completely reject ISIS, but this is due to an ignorance of Ibn Abdul Wahhab's actual views and history. If they actually knew Ibn Abdul Wahhab's views and history, they would immediately recognize that Ibn Abdul Wahhab was the 18th century version of ISIS.
I didn't know he was gonna use the flags and the seal again. You know, I just wanted to mention like how he showed it in the video in a negative light. I did not know he was gonna put it like up to like demonize the flag itself. This is the flag of Islam, man. How can you do this? You should be ashamed of yourself. This is the flag of the Muslims. That's the seal of the Prophet. Why are you demonizing the seal of the Prophet and the Shahada? May Allah curse you.
People might think, well, Daniel is just biased against the Najdi Dawah, so he's comparing it to ISIS. But the reality is, ISIS themselves explicitly say that they're the true followers of Ibn Abdul Wahhab. This is what Cole Bunzel points out in a recent academic book titled Wahhabism, published in 2023 by Princeton University Press. Bunzel says, the centrality of Wahhabism to the jihadi Salafi movement became even more evident with the rise of the Islamic State in the 2010s. When the Islamic State came to the world's attention in 2013,
he's again citing a kafir. He's citing I don't know what this kafir is going to say, but he's citing a kafir in matters that pertain to Muslims.
Fidelity to Wahhabism was loudly trumpeted by its official representatives and online supporters. The recruits in Islamic State training camps were made to study textbooks about Wahhabi creed. In the summer of 2015, the Islamic State's official publishing house began the printing of classic Wahhabi texts from Ibn Abdul Wahhab's Arba' Qawaid fi Din and Kashf al-Shubuhat. The purpose of printing these texts was to inculcate in the new generation of jihadis a proper understanding of Islamic belief, one that was exclusivist and militant. In the introduction to one of these works, the anonymous editor likens the Islamic State to the early Wahhabi dawah, claiming that the Islamic State is, again, renewing Tawheed, Jihad, and the Sunnah, as the Wahhabis had done before. The official scholars and wicked preachers in Saudi Arabia, by contrast, have forsaken the Wahhabi heritage. They lyingly ascribe themselves to the Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, knowing full well that today the Islamic State, its dawah, and its jihad are an extension and embodiment of the mission of Tawheed and Jihad initiated by the Messenger of God and his companions and renewed by Ibn Abdul Wahhab and his descendants.
Again, you're using a kafir source for this, but it doesn't even matter, right? Because that's just their, what they believe. They believe that they're following the Prophet and the companions also, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is he gonna say that the Prophet and the companions, that they are ISIS? Bro, like, use your head. How stupid are you? Again, you're making life worse for all the people that are identified as Muslims. I'm not saying about people who are Muslims. I'm saying people who the kuffar identify as Muslims. He's gonna say like they're gonna go to a Rafidi tomorrow and they're gonna say you're ISIS terrorist, or a Qadiani, you're ISIS terrorist. Bro, use your head. Use your head. Some kafir is gonna come to your home and attack you for being ISIS, because that's what you have been called online as well, ISIS light and stuff like that, and you continue the legacy. Don't you realize that somebody can attack you or your wife or your children tomorrow because they hate ISIS and all Muslims are ISIS? You're so stupid, man. You're so stupid. You literally risk the life of your entire family, your entire lineage, to make a point. A'udhu billah, don't you realize he just said that these ISIS people, they say they follow the Imam, right? Ibn Abdul Wahhab.
Initiated by the messenger.
But they also say that they follow the messenger of God, so, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his companions, the Sahaba. Are you gonna attack the Sahaba and the Prophet as well? A'udhu billah, man. You're such a kafir.
God and his companions, and renewed by Ibn Abdul
A'udhu billah. Oh, he's gonna show. Wait, he already showed these articles. Yeah, this is the same article. Again, Haqiqatjou is calling for attacks against the West. So he's lamenting here that ISIS is responsible for more Muslim deaths than Western victims. What he wants to say is there needs to be more Western victims. Like, bro, you're fed. You're fed posting right now. Baghdad bombing, Iraq is... Yeah, again, it's the same thing. They're the same articles. He wants more non-Muslims to die. A'udhu billah. Like, he's gonna make life a lot harder for Muslims everywhere if this documentary, so-called, gets any traction. So these are the same articles he used earlier. I know some of them are fake. But
even see prints of Ibn Abdul Wahhab's Kitab al-Tawheed.
Like I said, ISIS, yeah, they are very extreme in their interpretation. They believe like only because you are, let's say there's a mosque, okay, and Sufis gather there, and you come there and there's like a Sufi gathering, come there to pray, and they maybe attack the mosque. They attack the mosque and they might kill you because you're just there. Or for instance, I saw them like legitimize killing people that are at voting booths, right? This is like, voting is an unclear matter, right? But if you go to a voting booth, doesn't mean that you're gonna vote for a kafir, okay? Or Muslim or whatever, so-called Muslim. You can go there and drop a blank ballot. You can go there and write "screw you" on the ballot, right? You can go there because it's your workplace. You're a janitor. You clean. But they say as soon as you go there, you have become a kafir and your blood is halal. A'udhu billah. This is extremism. This is the reason I don't like ISIS, right? They are extremists, and like many of them are very ignorant as well. But that's another topic. But at least they're filled with zeal. Okay, that's what I can say. They're filled with zeal. They have a ghira for the deen. They want to defend the deen. They just don't know how.
With ISIS's seal on the cover.
ISIS's seal. Oh yeah, kafir. Wallahi anta kafir. That's not ISIS seal. You moron. Don't you know the history of this seal, as you say? You're so stupid, man. You are so stupid. It's ridiculous how stupid you are. The seal of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was lost. His ring. It was dropped in a well. But this French person, I believe it was, he said he found an original manuscript that had the seal on it, and he sold the manuscript to the Ottomans. Yes, to the Ottomans. And I think this, the one we see here, that's what was on the seal. Now, is it a forged document? Is it a real document? It doesn't matter. There's ikhtilaf what is supposed to say, what the ring was. Either it's Allah Rasul Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or Muhammad Rasul Allah. So the Salaf, they differed. The Imams of the past, they differed on which was the correct one. They believe that Allah Rasul Muhammad is the most correct one because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on above, right? In any case, this comes from the Ottomans. This seal, it was an Ottoman Khalif who spent a lot of money like gathering like strands of hair from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and different things like collecting barakah from him, right? Because he was an extreme Sufi. So this is like if you want to say anything, you're gonna say this is the seal of the Ottomans, right? Because you can't really trace the lineage back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as it is probably fake, found like by a French guy who was a forger. He found it in a pyramid or something like that. I don't really know the entire history, but the Ottomans like took this seal and they started using it. Like the specific one on like the ISIS flag, with the letters like this, right? That's like the exact copy. Okay, so this is the exact copy. So this is the seal of the Ottomans, which Haqiqatjou use as Muslims. And if you go further back, it's the seal of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And obviously, like he's doing two wrongs. Obviously, one is worse. He's saying this like he's attacking the seal of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he's ignorant. He's a jahil. He's a mushrik. He doesn't know anything about Islam. Stop following this literal retard. And this seal, this has nothing to do with ISIS. Like, let me reiterate, it has nothing to do with ISIS. It has nothing to do with anything except with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's why, for instance, on the website, if you know this website, it's a very good website, Kalamullah. They have the seal as like the icon, right? See? And they are not ISIS. If anything, they're like very, very like, like, they have a lot of Sufi texts here and stuff like that. But they also have like anti-Sufi texts. They have a lot of good books. Alhamdulillah. I like this website. In any case, they have the seal, you see? And I've seen Sufis that also have the seal, like rings of with the seal of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they like put it in green color, okay? Some have only like red color. It doesn't matter. Okay, doesn't matter. It's the seal of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Haqiqat, you're attacking. It's saying it's the seal of ISIS. Lanat Allahu alaykum, ya mushrik. That's all I have to say to you, Haqiqat. Guys, let's make a dua. Ya Allah, make Haqiqat's wife leave him. Ya Allah, make his children forsake him. Ya Allah, either guide him to Islam or destroy him. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Let's continue.
Themselves as the true successors of Ibn Abdul Wahhab, claiming they're reviving the original mission of Ibn Abdul Wahhab to purify the Muslim lands of shirk, just like Ibn Abdul Wahhab and his followers did centuries ago. ISIS argues that Saudi Arabia and the Salafi dawah as a whole has abandoned the true teachings of Ibn Abdul Wahhab, leaving ISIS to carry the torch. Members of ISIS today claim that Salafi scholars like Sheikh Al-Albani and others have rejected Ibn Abdul Wahhab's actual teachings. They view these Salafis as watered-down versions, whereas they're the real thing, the real Najdi dawah. I think this is exactly right. ISIS are the true followers of Ibn Abdul
Wahhab. There's like 300 years between them, bro.
And now that you've seen Ibn Abdul Wahhab's Takfiri teachings and his history committing atrocities against countless Muslims, hopefully you've realized this too.
Like, this is so disgusting. Like, what he's doing there, he wants to paint that everybody who is a Wahhabi is ISIS. So everybody who's a Wahhabi is ISIS. This can get a lot of people in trouble. Oh, to be like he's just like the Hamza Yusuf, right? He has been attacking, supposedly. He has the exact same beliefs. Everybody who is a Wahhabi is ISIS. A'udhu billah.
Other than Madkhalis and ISIS, a third prominent group of Wahhabis are known as the Haddadis. Like Ibn Abdul Wahhab, the Haddadis are ultra-sectarian and embrace mass takfir of Muslims.
I don't know a lot about Haddadis. Some person, he had commented and asked me why I called Shamsuddin a Haddadi. I don't know anything about him, to be honest. Like, all of his videos are in Arabic. My Arabic is not that good, so I can't really like watch them and make a decision. But they do a lot of takfir, and I said like there's no point in takfiring people from 1,000 years ago, even if you're correct. Like, what does it change? So I don't know anything about Haddadis, but let's see what Haqiqatjou, like his interpretation of them are.
Haddadis today have caused a huge amount of fitna because they go online to take.
Wait, is Jake a Haddadi?
Your great Sunni scholars like Al-Ghazali, Ibn Abd al-Salam, and Nawawi.
Wait, Jake Bankatela is a Haddadi? No, come on, bro. This must be a joke.
As-Subki, Ibn Hajar, and As-Suyuti.
That's him, Muhammad Shamsuddin, or whatever he's called.
الغزالي عندي كافر لقوله بوحدة الوجود.
Yeah, like if this is true, again, there's many like fake statements, but if somebody says that Wahdat al-Wujud is like a part of Islam or whatever, he believes in it, that's like I mentioned earlier, it's pantheism, okay? It results in pantheism. It's not directly pantheism, but like the step after that is understanding, yeah, it's pantheism. It's belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere, okay? Or because you can become one with Allah. That's what they say. What at wujud? You do like a lot of dhikr and you become one with Allah. And how can you become one with Allah? Because Allah is everywhere. But if Allah is everywhere, then He's in the idol. He's in the cow. He's in the crow. He's in the statue. You know, all of the stuff. So yeah, it leads to pantheism. It's kufr. So if somebody believes in Wahdat al-Wujud, he's a kafir. If Al-Ghazali believes in it or not, I don't know.
يلا الجويني يلتحق بالزنادقة، يلتحق القشيري بالكفر.
I don't know.
يلتحق القشيري بالغزالي وبالجويني. يلا.
I don't know who is talking about. Like I said, it doesn't matter. It honestly doesn't matter. Like don't lose time talking about the people from like 1,000 years ago. Unless it's like part of a discussion or a debate, and you have to like prove that this is the statement or something like that. I mean, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. In 1,000 years, people will talk about you, and if you are a mushrik or not. I mean, come on.
هو قوله إنه استغاث برسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، وهو كلامه الفاحش الذي جعل آيات القرآن الكريم جعلها في وصف أعضاء تناسلية للمرأة والرجل، هذان المناطان للتكفير. إن جاء برد علمي ينفي عن السيوطي الكفر رد علمي، فعند ذلك أرجع إلى قوله وأتراجع عن قولي في تكفير السيوطي.
Again, like talking about people from a long time ago, like this is the I think these people, like these extremists in takfir, they are controlled by the I believe they're controlled by the Americans, okay? Like the Mossad and the CIA, they are like spreading this kind of thinking of extreme takfir, so that we focus more on ourselves than outside our ummah, right? Obviously, takfir is important. It purifies the ranks, keeps like gets rid of the chaff, right? But takfiring people from back like long time ago, and then if you don't do takfir on the person from 1,000 years ago, then you're a kafir. I mean, come on, isn't it obvious? It's just a ploy by our enemies to make us, fight between each other. If we believe this person or that person, or there are so many people from the Salaf, not talking about Salaf al-Salih, I'm talking like generally about the Salaf. How the hell are you gonna keep track of all of them? And if all of them are like kafir, mushrik, or Muslim, or muwahid, or ahlul bidah, you can't know that. Just drop it.
والنووي الذي مات لا يعرف ربه معرفة حقيقية إمام قبح الله هذا الفكر تمتحنون المسلمين بإنسان ينكر صفات ربكم يا أيها الفسقة.
I mean, I don't even know like what the statements are, but I know that these people, they focus like on minuscule stuff, right? Like, especially like if you are a scholar that has written like tens of books, like you're gonna make a mistake somewhere, and these people are gonna like interpret it in some weird sense.
يا أيها الجهلة قل لك رياض الصالحين هم عندهم رياض فاسدين.
ويأتي من يقول أين علماء الأزهر وهو مركز وهي جامعة أسست على الشرك والكفر من أول يوم إلى هذا اليوم. أقسم بالذي رفع السماوات بلا عمد ترى أن أبو جهل وأبو لهب صح عقيدة من هذول اللي يدرسون في
I don't know about this. Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab have religious beliefs, aqidah, that are more correct than those who studied Al-Azhar. Like, this is general takfir of everybody that's in Al-Azhar. I don't think this is correct, obviously, right? But I know that a lot of shirk and zandika is going on in Al-Azhar. I will never go and study there myself. So yeah, but making takfir on everybody that's there, bro, come on. Like, how can you see how extreme that is? Get a life, man.
What is the basis for this takfir? As we've seen, Ibn Abdul Wahhab justified mass takfiring Muslims by
Wait, what is the basis? I mean, are you talking about the proofs that they are using to make this takfir?
claiming they had fallen into shirk. However, shortly after the life of Ibn Abdul Wahhab, his followers added a second justification for mass takfir, namely the doctrine of Allah's attributes or sifat. The Quran and Hadith describe Allah as having different attributes. Allah is described as having a face, eyes, and hands. He's also described as loving, hating, and being located above the world. But how should these descriptions be interpreted? Should they be interpreted literally or metaphorically? For instance, when we read in the Quran that Allah has a hand, does this mean that he has a literal hand, or is hand simply a metaphor for Allah's power? Throughout history, Muslim scholars have differed on how to interpret Allah's attributes, which led to the emergence of three different theological schools: the Ahl al-Hadith, the Ash'aris, and the Maturidis. Ibn Hanbal, Ibn Taymiyyah, and Ibn Abdul Wahhab all belong to the Ahl al-Hadith, who incline more towards literalistic interpretations. However, historically, most Muslim theologians have been Ash'aris or Maturidis, with Ash'aris being the biggest group.
I mean, the reason the Ash'aris even came to being is because they were people that wanted to defend Islam, but they didn't have the like textual knowledge. They were new Muslims, like in like former Roman cities, right? In like Syria and Egypt, etc. And they had this like Greek thought to them, right? And so they tried to defend Islam via logic instead of like textual evidence, right? And they started saying like weird stuff like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is nowhere and stuff like that. Like, that's just weird. Obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is somewhere. Like we talked in the the video I united the Ash'aris and Ataris, which is, you know, I want to take back what I said about the Ash'aris. I said that Ash'arism is like Hinduism. I wouldn't say that anymore, because I looked more closely into their beliefs. And like I said then, like Ash'aris, the Ash'aris I had talked to in real life, they were like more like these Wahdatul Wujud people, right? And the Ash'aris, they have like lots of different beliefs. Not every Ash'ari is the same. So I take back that Ash'arism is Hinduism. I will still say that the people that believe in, you know, Wahdatul Wujud, that's literally Hinduism. So that's pantheism, right? In any case, like Ash'aris, they have this like yapping. They have this yapping about a negation where Allah is and isn't. It's like, why would you even mess with that? It just leaves the gates open to all kinds of kufr and zanadika, right? And the reason why the Ash'aris became like the most popular or whatever is because you don't need to study the religion to become an Ash'ari, right? You only need to like think that you're big brained. That's all you need to do. Think that you're big brained. You're very smart. You can say where Allah is or isn't. While if you like read the Quran, you'll see that and the Sunnah, learn it, you'll see that there's no proof for the Ash'aris in there. So that's why it spread, because the ignorant masses, they could understand it easier, and the scholars, etc. You know, the palace scholars, they promoted it.
Ash'aris and Maturidis
Same thing with Maturidis.
incline towards metaphorical interpretation.
By the way, I read from the book of the Maturidi guy, what he says about the Shiites. I can't find it now, but it was a translation of his book, and he makes takfir on the Rafida. Sorry, it doesn't even say Rafida. I think it just says Shiites. I can't find it. I can't find it now, but it was funny because I should have said it, because he makes takfir on the Shiites. I believe. I don't know if it said the Rafid or Shiites. I believe it said Shiites. He makes takfir on them. So what does Haqiqatjou believe of the Maturidis? Like, doesn't he know that they are extreme like takfiris as well?
Historically, Ahl al-Hadith, Ash'aris, and Maturidis all accused their counterparts of being wrong. However, aside from a minority of extreme elements, they didn't actually mass takfir each other. But then Ibn Abdul Wahhab's followers come onto the scene and immediately begin mass takfiring Ash'aris.
I mean, you should read the statements about you know, the scholars of the past, what they believe of the Ash'aris
and Maturidis. The practice of mass takfiring Ash'aris and Maturidis goes at least as far back as the aforementioned Abdurrahman ibn Hassan. Remember, he's the direct student and grandson of Ibn Abdul Wahhab and one of the highest ranking Wahhabi authorities in history. Abdurrahman makes mass takfir of Ash'aris when he states, "And this sect, which affiliates itself with Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, has described the Lord of the Worlds with the attributes of being non-existent and inanimate. Indeed, they have committed a grave falsehood against Allah and have opposed the people of truth from among the Salaf, the Imams, and their followers. Thus, this sect, which has deviated from the truth, its devils have devoted themselves to diverting people from the path of Allah. They have rejected Allah's oneness and divinity and permitted polytheism, which Allah does not forgive. They allowed others to be worshipped besides him and denied his attributes through negation.
Yeah, like I said, they negate everything. And I have seen like Asharis, like these extreme Asharis, say that stuff like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have a mouth, so he does not speak. Stuff like that, you know. So yeah, you can enter kufr if you like become an Ashari, and then they like start saying that everything is like an analogy or stuff like that. Like it's not real; it's a metaphor, which is also kufr. As if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala couldn't make metaphors or analogies. You know, Audubillah. They're so stupid, bro.
The
The
Imams of
Asharis.
Ahl Sunnah and their followers have
I mean, not all Asharis, okay? I'm talking about these extremists that even like the Asharis of the past will make takfir on. So Haqiqatjou doesn't understand. Like the Asharism, it started like a deviant ideology. Not really, okay? It started as a way to defend Islam from these like Greek thinkers, right? This Greek thought, or what you're gonna say, like this logical thought of having to prove everything and stuff like that. So they tried to defend Islam with the knowledge they had. Some were even like former Christians who became Muslims, and they still held on to this like Aristotelian thought and stuff like that, which they used to like prove the Trinity. So it's people like tried to do their best. They went astray. It wasn't that bad in the past, and it just like got worse with time because it's an addition to Islam. It's not necessary.
well-known works refuting this obstinate kafir sect. To this day, Wahhabis consider Ash'aris and Maturidis.
But even like saying you have to be able to prove everything, right? You have to use a human reason and understanding to prove God's attributes and how God is Azza wa Jal, etc. That's illogical in itself. Why? Because if you are able to comprehend God, if you're able to understand everything about God using human thought, then God is just human, right? You have made God human by trying to understand him and explain every small detail of God, right? You have humanized him. But God is much greater than our thought, so you will never be able to comprehend him. So even like the idea that you can explain God, it's contradictory. You cannot have the belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above humanity, but at the same time you can understand that's like an ant understanding a human, but many infinitely times more complex.
To be either extreme deviants or kafirs who should be killed unless they change their views. These Wahhabis go online to generate endless fitna by attacking Muslims for supposedly not having the correct understanding of Allah's attributes, and then mass takfiring these Muslims as well as the great scholars of Islam.
He shows Jake with these people. That's because Jake has like made many videos like refuting Asharis. Obviously, like he doesn't make takfir on all the Asharis. I don't even know like exactly what his stance is, right? For instance, the reason I said like Jake and Farid, they have like nothing in common, is because you'll see like on Farid's channel, he never talks about Asharis. I don't know if he's ever talked about Asharis. Maybe, I don't know. He's mainly like talking about atheists and Christians and stuff like that. Yeah, but apparently Jake is an Haddadi. I didn't know. The more you know, right?
Islamic history.
Yeah, he's trying to misquote him, right? He's trying to misquote Jake because they were talking about something else. You can see like the show more there. This is a long conversation they had. I don't like. There's no point to even delving in it. But they were probably like talking about some specific aspects of the Ash'ari creed. And Jake said, "Yeah, this isn't the Wahhabi position. This is the like normative position within like real Islam, right? The pure Islam." And Haqiqatjou shows this to say, "Oh, it's the takfir of all the Ash'aris, right?" That's not what Jake said. He could have said no. The normative position is to make takfir on all Ash'aris. No, he didn't say that. They was talking about some specific belief that you have, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't speak. Okay, like Audubillah, you're a kafir if you say that, and you yourself admitted that you can become a kafir by uttering a single phrase or a single word, right? So yeah, Oh, wait, maybe you didn't admit it. Maybe you said you don't become a kafir. I don't want to misquote you, right? I'm not a Haqiqatjou after all. But like, it doesn't matter. As a Muslims, we know you can become a kafir by uttering a single word of kufr. So we have to be careful what we say, right?
Ibn Abdul Wahhab mass takfir the Ummah, as we've seen, but his deviant takfir doctrine has been adapted by Wahhabis over the centuries. What's remained the same is this central idea at the core of Wahhabism, which is the same idea at the core of Kharijism, which is the mass takfir, mass hatred, and mass killing of other Muslims. There are three central beliefs that all the Wahhabi groups we've discussed, the Madkhalis, the Haddadis, and ISIS, all share. First,
ISIS killed Yazidis as well. And if you didn't know, this is something that used to be written about a long time. If you go to Google or whatever search engine and search Yazidi and Muslims usually gives you the most results. Maybe it is Muslim only. Oh, it doesn't work. Now I look like a fool here. I look like a fool here. Let's see. I know that there are a lot of yes. Here we go. Okay, so DuckDuckGo crapped out on us, unfortunately. But Google shows us the results within the pages. As you can see, Yazidis are like characterized as Muslims. Yazidi Muslim leaders in Kurdistan. So is Haqiqatjou going to say that Yazidis are Muslims? Because that's like the wrong interpretation for a long time, that Yazidis are Muslims. Because they think like Yazidis and Shiites and I don't know, all these like are part or like sects of Islam, right? Sunnis, etc. Yeah, so they are viewed as Muslims. Does Haqiqatjou also view them as Muslims? Like that's the thing. So about Yazidi Muslims. Cannibalism. Oh my god. People are so ignorant. The reason I raised this is like, does Haqiqatjou view, who does he view as a Muslim? Like specifically, he used to make takfir on the Qadianis, but now that he has shown his true beliefs, does he still make takfir on the Qadianis? Does he maybe view them as Muslims now? Right? Rafida, he used to, like in the Brilliance of Islam or Genius of Islam or whatever it's called, he called them like I think he made takfir on them, right? These are not Muslims, he said, or something like that about the Rafida. It was many years ago. I watched it. Obviously, he views the Rafida as Muslims now. He says they are kuffar, but he doesn't define what a Rafidi is. So every Shiite is a Muslim until they show they are a Rafidi. Obviously, no Shiite is going to say I'm a Rafidi, except, jokingly or whatever, mockingly, right? So in any case, like, let's see who Haqiqatjou defines as Muslims. Like, he has a very broad net on what a Muslim is. But weird enough, he doesn't view the Madkhalis as Muslims. Like, the Rafida, I mean the Shias, they make takfir on the Madkhalis. They don't view them as Muslims. Yeah. So let's see.
First of all, Wahhabism claims that more or less all non-Wahhabis have beliefs which make them kafirs. So think about all the non-Wahhabi Muslim groups. They fall into one of these four categories. Either Sufis, followers of the traditional Sunni madhabs, i.e. the Hanafis, Shafis, Malikis, and
No, I mean, when we say Sufis, I mean, me as a Muslim who is trying to be an Atari, right? When we say Sufi, we are talking about those like that worship graves, right? We are not talking about those that claim to follow. Like you don't make takfir on you because you claim to follow the like four schools of thought, right? We make takfir on you because you're worshiping graves.
Hanbalis, the Ash'aris and Maturidis, and the Shia.
I mean, Maturidis are like extreme grave worshippers. Ash'aris, like not all Ash'aris, right? Only those that say beliefs. Even then, like if it's a lay person, there can be excuse of ignorance. If it's a lay person that says, yeah, I don't believe this because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's not like us. I read it in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like us, so he cannot have a mouth, so how can he speak? It must be a metaphor for something else, but like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can speak without like a physical mouth and stuff like that. Like Why even go into that? And then Shia, oh, he has to add the Shia, right? Oh, the poor Shia. We can't forget the Shia. What? But the Shia, answer me this, Haqiqatjou. You have shown many of these like attacks against the Shia, right? By ISIS and only ISIS. Weirdly enough, there are many groups that claim to be Wahhabis today, like Al Qaeda. You haven't mentioned Al Qaeda. They claim to be Wahhabis. Same thing with like these smaller groups in the Syrian war, right? Even like groups in Iraq, like Ansar al-Sunnah and stuff like that, they also claim to be Wahhabis, okay? So why didn't you show their attacks? You only showed like ISIS, because these people are like less known. Like even Al-Qaeda is like less known. Like nobody cares about Al-Qaeda anymore. So you're not gonna paint your opponents as Al-Qaeda. You're gonna paint them as ISIS, because everybody hates ISIS. Oh, la hawla wa quwwata illa billah. But you show Shia, and you showed like these attacks and massacres against the Shia, okay? Why didn't the Imams help the Shiites? Answer me this, Haqiqatjou. If their Imams are all powerful and they control every atom in the universe, why didn't they control the atom in the bullet that hit them in the head? Answer me this. I really wonder. Is it so that maybe the Imams, the Imamat, they hate the Shia, right? Because that's what it looks like. They hate the Shia and they want the Shia to be killed, like their own Imams. Why didn't they control the bullets to like go backwards and kill the Wahhabis, right? Apparently, the way it looks is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the control of the universe, and he wanted the bullets to hit the Shiites, not the Wahhabis, right?
Obviously, there's overlap with these categories, but overall, these four categories cover the vast majority of the Muslims in the world. Yet, all four categories are considered to be kafirs, or at the very least are considered to be upon kufr and shirk, according to the Wahhabis. This means that when a Wahhabi thinks of the Ummah, he doesn't consider the majority of nearly 2 billion Muslims in the world today to actually be Muslim. Rather, he sees them as mostly kafirs.
Like, bro, you made takfir on like modernist Muslims, right? Like feminists and like modernist interpretation, like trying to put in evolution into Islam and stuff like that. You made takfir on them. Obviously, like some of the stuff they said is like shirk akbar, right? Should be made takfir on. But what you are talking about is like much worse. Like a Rafidi is much worse than a so-called modernist Muslim that tries to like squeeze in evolution into the Islamic like understanding of religion, right? Sorry, Islamic understanding of science, right? So you make takfir on them for that, but then you won't make takfir on people that are literally worshipping, like literally. I mean, I'm saying they are doing sujood, they're bowing down to idols, icons of their 12 imams. They have a prayer where they pray directly to, like they're not praying to God or praying to a person to ask God for something. No, they pray to Zahra, pray directly to Zahra. They say Zahra Madad, Madad. Yeah, so they pray directly to Zahra. They have a prayer for Zahra, 100 rakah, I think it is, where you do it and then you can ask her for anything and she will give you it. It's basically like the Catholics praying to Mary. Yeah. In any case, so Haqiqatjou, I mean, come on, man. How can you view these people as Muslims? Like, okay, I understand. I understand your point of like trying to like fit everyone, but like it's inconsistent with your old beliefs. Like you have to understand that sooner or later you'll have to like recant all your older beliefs. You'll have to view like these I don't know, Hamza Yusuf and Yaqeen Institute and all that. You'll have to view them again as Muslims and like being like a bit deviant, but they're fine, they're Muslims, they're doing their best, etc. Because they are better than the Rafidites, right? And if you don't do this, then the people in debates, they're gonna call you out on it. Like the Christians, they're gonna call you out on it. You're gonna look like a fool, and you're gonna make Islam look bad. So I don't know, man. Like I don't know why you're doing any of this. You could have done this long time ago, but now you have like built up an audience, and people like view you as the extremist, like Muslim preacher and stuff like that. You've been put on a list by ADL. So whenever you say something, you represent all of Islam. So this is just gonna make Islam look bad. I don't know what awaits us, but you have given a lot of material to the Christians who are debating you, and I don't know, like you debated a Hindu recently. I have no idea why the Hindu didn't just check your Twitter and see how much you're arguing with Muslims and how you were defending. You're defending literal Hinduism. It's Hinduism with different gods. You're defending like the Rafida, right? Saying that you can still be a Muslim if you pray to 12 imams. So the Hindu is just gonna come and say, yeah, but you said that you can pray to the imams, right? You believe you can do that and be a Muslim, so why can't I pray to an elephant god? Maybe he's my imam and stuff like that. A'udhu billah. So yeah, this is just like the beginning of the downfall of the so-called like Muslim dawah in the West.
And in some cases as mushriks.
So-called Muslim dawah.
Let's go through the 4 categories one by one and explain the Wahhabi reasoning. Number 1, Sufis and those who fall under the broad category of Sufi practitioners are kafir mushriks because they believe that istighatha and tawassul, i.e. calling on the dead with requests, are permissible. Contemporary Wahhabi scholar Saleh al-Fawzan clearly states this. Questioner: we are from southern Russia, and many of those who ascribe themselves to Islam fall into major shirk over there because they take their religion from the sheikhs of the Sufis.
Yeah, from southern Russia, Junub Russia. So they're talking. I thought like no, it probably like says Chechnya or something like that, but it's like mistranslated. No, it says southern Russia, but that's like Dagestan and Chechnya, etc. Like Caucasus region, right? Probably it's what it's referring to, and they worship graves and stuff like that. Why? Because the people in charge, like the Kadirovites, like the son of Kadir, Kadir, what was he? Like the one in charge now is like Kadyrov, Ramzan Ahmetovich Kadyrov. The reason that they are in power now is because they backstabbed the Muslims. Okay, they backstabbed the Muslims, they gained power, and now they're doing everything that Haqiqatjou hates, right? Apparently, they are forcing women to remove their niqabs and even hijabs. Like you're not allowed to have a niqab or a burqa or whatever you're gonna say in Chechnya, right? They have like restricted Islam a lot. They have modernized Islam, so and they have like literally enforced like grave worship and stuff like that. These extremists, like extremist Sufis and backstabbers of Islam, of the entire Ummah. They sided with the Russians who massacred the Muslims in Dagestan and Chechnya and all the other places, right? They sided with them against the Muslims. And let's see how Haqiqatjou is going to defend this, because yeah, they are mushrikun. They are literal mushrikun. They are the enemies of Islam.
How should we deal with them? Shall we deal with them as being polytheists or as being ignorant Muslims? Answer: you know that they are polytheists, but don't leave them. Call them to Allah, explain to them, maybe they're ignorant, call them to Allah and explain to them, since you know the truth, explain to them so that Allah may guide them. And if they don't accept, then leave them and distance yourself from them.
Yeah, like Saleh Fawzan, he has many like books and good works on like grave worship. I believe that just the fact that he's like a palace scholar like degrades him, because if he just left Saudi Arabia and went somewhere else and continued his work, he will be a great scholar.
Number 2, generally speaking, members of all 4 traditional Sunni legal schools are kafirs because they don't takfir those who engage in istighatha and tawassul. If you remember Ibn Abdul Wahhab's chain takfir principle, you know that according to the Wahhabi...
Yeah, that's a Haqiqatjou's misinterpretation. Like I said before, there's proper chain takfir, correct chain takfir, and then there is like this chain takfir that these extremists like Hazimis and Hadaris, I suppose, have come up with. Proper chain takfir is making takfir on those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made takfir on, making takfir on actions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made takfir on, stuff like that. And improper one is like, this person from 1,000 years ago, he said this. Do you make takfir on him? Oh, you don't? I mean, it doesn't even go like that. It goes like, do you make takfir on this person? Oh, you don't? Oh, you're a kafir. Why? Because this person said this. Bro, like, come on. How stupid are you?
Wahhabis, whoever refuses to takfir a kafir becomes a kafir himself.
Yeah, so this is the like wrong understanding of chain takfir, and it's funny that Haqiqatjou is like butchering this so much, because there's so many works explaining like how this misconception even came to be. Because as always, there is evidence in citations for this, which with every like deviant belief, there will always be some kind of evidence. Otherwise, people won't be following it, right? But they have like they misuse the Surah Ibrahim and stuff like that, and say that you like you cannot be a Muslim unless you have fulfilled like making takfir on the mushrikeen, and I'm talking about like every mushrik in the world, right? But you cannot know every mushrik in the world. How literally it's literally impossible to know every mushrik in the world. So how will you ever be able to make takfir on everybody? But this is like the the caricature understanding of takfir by them, chain takfir. So yeah, it's just funny. Like there's nothing to refute even. It's literally funny that if you ask them like, oh, do you make takfir on this person? And they'll say like, oh, I don't know him maybe. Oh, so you don't make takfir on him. Um, they might become a kafir. They don't make takfir on some unknown person. Okay. Um, so that's why many of them say, I view everybody, because they understand this issue. So they say, I view everybody as a kafir until I can affirm Islam for them. I mean, come on, man.
So all the followers of the traditional Sunni madhahib are considered to be kafir because none of the four schools consider the practitioners of istighatha to be kafir mushriks.
But how can they view the practitioners of istighatha to be kafir mushrik when people weren't worshipping graves at their times, as far as I know?
When we look at the history of the four traditional madhahib,
that's like if in the future people like start worshipping their phones, like I said earlier, and Haqiqatjou hasn't made takfir on people worshipping their phones, so he's gonna become a kafir. In 100 years, they're gonna say you're a kafir. I mean, come on, use your brain.
Shafi, Maliki, and Hanbali, there were some major scholars who viewed istighatha to be permissible. Scholars like Taqiyuddin al-Subki, Jalaluddin Suyuti, Ibn Hajar al-Haytami, and others.
Yeah, but these people came like after the four imams.
Scholars from the four schools considered istighatha to be haram, but they also didn't takfir the practitioners of istighatha. For Ibn Abdul Wahhab and other Wahhabis, all these Sunni scholars are kafirs, not because they
like what? Haqiqatjou is like lumping together 1,700 years. No, sorry, 1,100 years. He's lumping together 1,100 years of history into like one time period. What do the four imams have to do with like Suyuti and all these people came after, and Imam Ibn Abdul Wahhab? They're not in the same time frame, man. Come on. And you said you went to Harvard, bro. Your Rafidi daddy paid for that. You did not have the brains for it. Come on.
They necessarily practice istighatha themselves, but because they don't consider istighatha to be shirk, or they don't takfir the practitioners of istighatha. Furthermore, because of the chain takfir principle we explained earlier, whoever doesn't takfir scholars like Subki, Suyuti, Haytami, and all these other traditional Sunni scholars, then that person is also a kafir. Scholars from all the four legal schools in the Ottoman Empire rejected Ibn
Bro, this is the reason these extremists that make takfir on on the imams and stuff like that are gaining steam, because of people like Haqiqatjou who cannot answer. He cannot answer why they're doing takfir. This is not the reason they're doing takfir, ya jahil. They're doing takfir on them because of entirely different matters. I know some people make takfir on Abu Hanifa rahimullah, and they make takfir on the imams because they didn't make takfir on Abu Hanifa rahimullah. They say Abu Hanifa was a Jahmi. Abu Hanifa was a Jahmi, and those imams that didn't make takfir on him also Jahmiya. Right? They didn't make takfir, so they're also mushrikeen. That's what they say, because they follow this chain takfir principle. They don't believe it has nothing to do with this irata, because it wasn't practiced back then. And again, like you're making like an anti-Islamic caricature of like the entirety of Islam, man. Like this looks so bad, Haqiqatjou. You're just embarrassing yourself.
Ibn Abdul Wahhab's teachings, and in response, Ibn Abdul Wahhab takfired all of them. Mecca in the Ottoman era is very relevant because at the time of Ibn Abdul Wahhab, Mecca was one of the leading centers of Islamic learning and scholarship. Top scholars from all four legal schools taught there. Earlier I mentioned that when the Wahhabis took control of Mecca in 1806, they forced the scholars there to sign a letter stating that the
I don't know, did they force them or not? They signed the letter, nevertheless. They didn't make a retraction. They could have like written a book and they published it like after their death, saying, no, I still believe Istighatha, it's the true Islam. They didn't. So yeah, obviously they believed in it.
residents of Mecca were upon disbelief and shirk before the coming of the Wahhabis. The letter implies that the scholars themselves were on kufr and shirk. The scholars who signed the letter included major authorities from all four legal schools, including Mecca's official Hanafi Mufti, the official Shafi Mufti, the official Maliki Mufti, and the official Hanbali Mufti. The letter...
Wait, so because they were different like schools of thought, that it like goes backwards all the way to the imams that started the schools. Bro, how stupid are you? Literally, how stupid are you? That's an honest question. Is he gonna say that like it changed Takfir all the way back? Oh
along with the
man.
names of the scholars who signed it, have been preserved till this day, and they're found in Durasaniya, volume 1, pages 314 to 315. Now, this takfir of the four legal schools applies up to this day. Consider Azhar University in Egypt, which teaches all four madhahib. Do Wahhabis consider the scholars and students at Azhar to be kafirs? The answer is yes. The scholars of Azhar are kafirs for at least two reasons. First, they don't takfir those who do istighatha. Second, some of them consider istighatha to be permissible, following the opinion of Subki, Suyuti, and Haytami. From a historical
Billah, that's not true. Like I don't even know what's happening at Al Azhar, but you don't make like takfir on people that might have misconception, right? You make takfir on the practitioner, not people that have misconception if it's like correct or not. But if somebody is like going to a grave and they're worshiping the grave and things stuff like that, obviously, like even from like the old works, like Ibn Jawzi, like citing Ibn Akil, that the person is a kafir. He who goes to see, like I mentioned last time, Ibn Akil said some people felt the burden of religious responsibility, so they innovated their own practices to make things easy for them. In my opinion, those who glorify graves, kiss them, light candles on them, pray to the deceased, "Oh my master, help me," seek blessings in the sand of the graves, pour perfume on them, and travel long distances to reach them, they are kafir. So even to travel long distances to reach the grave, you're a kafir. And kiss those who glorify graves kisses them. So if you kiss a grave, you're a kafir. Light candles on them. Like some Muslims today, they light candles on graves, like following the practices of the Christians. They're kuffar, according to Ibn Akil. Is he gonna say that Ibn Akil was a Wahhabi? Come on, man. And that Ibn Jawzi was also a Wahhabi? Because he put this in his book to show the devil's deception of the Sufis. Devil's deception of the lay people. So, like, that's the general people, not the scholars. We are talking about, like, regular people. Obviously, not everybody is a kafir, but he's talking about the specific people within the lay people that are, doing all of this stuff. So, is he gonna say that Ibn Akil and Ibn Jawzi, that they are Wahhabis? Come on, man, grow a brain.
Historical perspective, Azhar was part of the Ottoman Empire during the time of Ibn Abdul Wahhab. He takfired the scholars of Al-Azhar along with those of other cities in the Ottoman Empire like Mecca and Istanbul. And Wahhabis continue to takfir the scholars.
Yeah, but this has to do with them being literally palace scholars and not stopping the shirk that was happening in the Ottoman Empire. There are many books on the shirk and kufr that was going on. Like I said in the beginning, like there's many lies spread both ways, both Ottomans against the Wahhabis, Wahhabis against Ottomans. So finding out what's true or not, it's hard. But I know that there was a lot of like shirk and kufr going on, specifically with the leaders of the state. Some of them were like outright atheists and stuff like that.
Scholars of Azhar to this day.
ويأتي من يقول أين علماء الأزهر وهو مركز وهي جامعة أسست على الشرك والكفر من أول يوم إلى هذا اليوم. أقسم بالذي رفع السماوات بلا عمد ترى أن أبو جهل وأبو لهب صح عقيدة من هذول يدرسون في الأزهر. عقيدة الجهمية هذه التي تدرس في الأزهر حتى القردة والخنازير عقيدتهم أحسن منها.
Number 3, Ash'aris and Maturidis are kafirs.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but the Jahmiyyah are obviously kuffar. So if this person is mistaken, he believes that every person in Azhar is a Jahmi. His what you gonna say? His takfir is the reason for his takfir is correct, but it is misapplied because the people are not Jahmis there, right? I don't know if they teach the Jahmi like creed there or not, but if they do, then obviously that's a justifiable takfir.
Because they deny that Allah is literally located above the throne and that Allah literally speaks with letters and sounds. As we saw already, the Haddadis focus on takfiring the Ash'aris and Maturidis due to their interpretation of the attributes of Allah. Oftentimes, Wahhabis do not.
Yeah, because you moron, it is in the Quran. I mean, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is literally above the throne. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rose above the throne. That's what it says in the Quran. So if you say that this is not true, you're going against the Quran. It doesn't matter like what your misconception is, right? Why you don't think so? You're contradicting the Quran. We cannot allow this kind of thought within Islam. That's how you become like these Christians and Jews that don't follow their own text and they change their text, etc. No, yeah, we have to stick to the text, and we have to like cut off all the people that are changing the meaning of the text, right? Changing the text itself.
Not go right out and explicitly say that Ash'aris and Maturidis are kafirs. Rather, they express this indirectly by saying that whoever denies that Allah is literally located above the throne is a kafir.
Because it's in the Quran, right? Surely your Lord is Allah who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and then arose over the throne. He rose above the throne. So many times it's mentioned in the Quran. The most gracious Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rose over the mighty throne. So if you deny this, you're denying the text. There's like no way you can misinterpret it. It literally says rose above the throne. What does that mean? What will you understand it? It doesn't like what it means exactly, specifically, we don't know. All we know is that Allah, He rose above the throne, and that's it. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know, all you need to say. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above the throne. Everything. Full stop. If somebody says no, he's a kafir. What can I tell you?
Here is an example from Ibn Baz.
هذا سؤال يقول السائل ما رأي سماحتكم في من يقول أن البحث في ذات الله شرك ويقول أن هذا من علم الفلسفة ويقول أيضا إذا أنت لم ترى الله فكيف تحدد جهته فما هي نصيحتكم له ونصيحتكم لي لأنني طالب أدرس عنده وقد نصحته لكنه قال أنا مؤمن من كلامي ولست شرك.
A long question.
جهمي بحث هذا جهمي هذا عنده الله معروف مكانه فوق في السماء في العلو فوق العرش
Yeah.
يمكن هذا كافر.
Like nobody that's a Muslim. This is not a like Atari versus Ash'ari question. Like the Ash'aris also affirm this. If somebody says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not above the throne, he's a kafir. Like this is a Muslim versus non-Muslim question.
والبحث في ذاته كان المراد بحث الصفات والله بين الصفات ولا بأس أما كان بحث ذاته أنه
Like denying the caliphate of Abu Bakr, or insulting the Sahaba, or accepting some form of istighatha or tawassul. And finally, the Shia are kafirs for a variety of reasons, like
Yes, thank you for agreeing, Haqiqatjou, finally.
denying the caliphate of Abu Bakr, or insulting the Sahaba, or accepting some form of istighatha
Yeah, all of this is shirk.
or tawassul, and
I mean, denying the caliphate, not necessarily, right? But I'm talking about insulting the Sahaba and istighatha and tawassul of the dead and
so on.
stuff like
What
that.
this amounts to is that Wahhabis have formulated grounds for takfiring any Muslim who does not
He's not gonna mention Wilaya Takwiniya. He's not gonna mention that. He's not gonna mention the 100 rak'ah prayer to Zahra. He's not gonna mention the 12 Imams. I mean, come on, bro. You took like the weakest points, right? Because there have been some disagreement in if you can curse the Sahaba, mainly because there is like evidence of the Sahaba cursing each other. But that's the thing is like that was between them. They knew each other, right? So that's an entirely different thing. Like there's no point in going there. But there is like ikhtilaf if it's kufr or if it's like minor shirk to do that. Yeah, he doesn't mention like the strongest points for takfiring the Shia, but he mentions like the weakest one, which is like specific for them, cursing the Sahaba. Then again, there have been like so-called Sunni sect, the Nasibis, they cursed the Ali radiallahu anhum. But he doesn't mention like things that the Sunnis don't believe in. So he mentioned like tawassul and istighatha, but he doesn't mention wilayat takwiniya. He doesn't mention prayer to Zahra. He doesn't mention wallowing in the mud of Karbala, stuff like that.
accept Wahhabism. This is how they takfir the vast majority of the ummah. What makes this all the more disturbing is that Wahhabism claims that because more or less all non-Wahhabis have beliefs that make them kafirs, there's an obligation to kill them by waging jihad against them or by arresting them and executing them as apostates. This
I mean, you don't have to agree with everything that Ibn Abdul Wahhab said. I don't think that's even his belief, because when they stormed Karbala, they didn't kill the women and children, right?
is something that most Wahhabis keep hidden from the Muslim masses. But the reality is Wahhabis believe that there's an obligation to kill Ash'aris, Maturidis, Sufis, the scholars and the followers of the
Obviously not true. Obviously not true. Why aren't they like mass killing the people that come from the subcontinent to Saudi Arabia and UAE and all of these states? Come on.
for Sunni legal schools and Shia. As you know by now, this is exactly what Ibn Abdul Wahhab and his early followers did, and it's endorsed in all their writings. They did attack and kill the Sunni scholars and the lay people of the Ottoman Empire for practicing tawassul and istighatha, or for simply refusing to takfir those who engage in these practices. Wahhabis also later added the claim that the Ottomans were kafirs because they were Ash'aris and Maturidis.
Oh, bro, I don't know how he's able to talk so much. Like, I have had to split this up in like in a week and more to be able to watch his lies. But he's able to like lie so easily, so elegantly.
Just as Ibn Abdul Wahhab and his followers launched numerous raids attacking and killing Sunnis, they did the same with Shia. And in our times, ISIS has adopted exactly the same policies. What's critical to understand...
And it's bad. Why? Wait. I was like, I'm gonna skip this. This is just waste of time. But he shows Jake. Let's see what he has to say about Jake.
Is that modern Wahhabi YouTubers like Muhammad ibn Shamsuddin, Farid Bahraini...
Oh, see? This is like, he mentions ISIS. He wants to get these people killed, like Bahraini, Farid Bahraini. He's in Bahrain, you know, and Jake is in Morocco. These places, like, they're gonna maybe imprison them if he says that they are ISIS and stuff like that, and like somebody calls the cops on them, they can like get imprisoned and maybe actually like get jailed for a very long time, because these are like oppressive Taghut regimes, right? And Haqiqatjou is like, he doesn't care that he might get these people killed. He's attacking them, hoping that their Taghut governments are gonna kill them.
Jake Brancatella and others all believe that this Takfiri ideology is legitimate, and that's why they promote Wahhabi writings and ideas.
I would be like, he wants to paint these people as ISIS, like specifically these two as ISIS, because he knows that they haven't like favored any government. They're not like Madkhalis, who constantly speak about how good the Taghut governments are. So Jake Brancatella, he hasn't said anything about the Moroccan government. Farid, I don't think he has said anything either, right, about the Bahraini government. But like this can get you in a lot of trouble if somebody's painting you as a banned terrorist organization.
Ideas which legitimize this murderous behavior.
Takfir has a loaded gun.
Of course.
And what is it if you don't do takfir? If you call that Shiites are Muslims and stuff like that, that's not a loaded gun. That's even worse, bro. Like saying that people of shirk are your brethren in religion. That's just shameful.
Of course, these Wahhabis don't always advertise their belief in the legitimacy of mass takfir and mass killing. This is because Wahhabism holds that you can temporarily suspend the obligation of killing non-Wahhabis based on the excuse for ignorance, or al-udhr bil-jahl. So even though non-Wahhabis have beliefs which make them kafirs who should be killed, these Wahhabis may be ignorant about why their beliefs are wrong. As long as they're ignorant, then they're not to be killed. Rather, you educate them about why they're wrong, and once the non-Wahhabis have been presented with enough...
Bro, like, can he show us like textual evidence for this or something where the Wahhabis say? He's like talking about the Wahhabis the way that Wahhabis talk about Rafida, right? So he's just like twisting the entire concept. Obviously, like, I mean, come on, man. It's so obvious what he's doing here, trying with the Taqiyya stuff and all of that. I don't know what to tell you. This is just pathetic.
Rather, you educate them about why they're wrong, and once the non-Wahhabis have been presented with enough proof, if they still refuse to change their beliefs, then they should be killed. In other words, Wahhabis insist that they have an obligation to kill Ash'aris, Maturidis, Sufis, followers of the four legal schools, and the Shia. But...
Yeah, but again, do you view like the Qadianis as Muslims? Or do you view that they should all come back to like real Islam?
Wahhabis can suspend the killing until the time when these groups have been presented with sufficient proofs of their error. Now we come to a key point. Wahhabis admit that there are no clear standards for determining when a non-Wahhabi has been presented with sufficient proof of his error. At what point does the non-Wahhabi no longer have the excuse for ignorance? This is a question with no clear-cut answer. Rather, it's a highly subjective matter of ijtihad. So on one extreme, Ibn Abdul Wahhab believed that anyone who had simply heard the Quran had already been presented with sufficient proof such that they no longer have the excuse of ignorance. At the other...
Yeah, this depends on the era, depends on the people. Like if even like in Boston, there are people who are like Hafid, they know the Quran. They can recite it from memory, okay? But they don't know what it means. They haven't read the Quran. They haven't seen the translation, but they know it, from memory, but they don't know the meaning of what they're reciting. Can you say that they have like the excuse of ignorance? I mean, I don't know. I would say it's possible that they have still, even though they know the Quran. They are happy, they know the Quran. Why? Because they don't know the translation. Like this is the way like things have come in Bosnia, where for instance people will learn the Quran. They will go to the mekteb and go to the mosque. They'll learn the Quran. They will maybe like even learn hadith. I don't know, very very little of that I believe. But yeah, they will learn to recite the Quran, right? But they will not see the translation. They will not ponder on the translation, the meaning of the translation, or maybe even be given like false translation. Yeah, that's just it's pathetic. Yeah, so it depends. So the people during the time of the Imam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, people there they spoke Arabic. So if they recited the Quran, they knew it, right? Now, if they accepted it or not, like that doesn't matter. The mushrikun of Mecca, they didn't accept the Quran either. What are we gonna say, that they have the ignorance? Come on.
Other end of the spectrum, there are other Wahhabis who argue that an individual may require decades of education before the excuse of ignorance no longer applies.
What? What? No, that's not true. I don't think there's any such case, except if you're like thinking about some very specific from like the kalam, saying I can't even imagine it, but like something like the between the Asharis and the Ataris, it's possible, but I have never heard of this opinion.
But the point is,
like at most it's like a session, right? Like you tell the person, and if they don't accept, then that's that's the end of it. They don't accept. They are upon their own like old beliefs. Now, obviously, people can change their beliefs. Like I said, like I used to be an Ashari because I didn't know what what was the meaning of where Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is, and I didn't know the verses, etc. That Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is above the throne, and like the specific meaning, like He is on the throne, like right now, I suppose. Allahu alam. But the people can change, and somebody who used to have like a kufri belief, he might not hold it in the future. So they should give a chance to change. How long and for what crime, etc. It all depends. I'm not one to give judgments.
Wahhabis who hold that non-Wahhabis should receive a long education before they're killed insist that this is their personal ijtihad. However, at the same time, they accept as legitimate the ijtihad of Ibn Abdul Wahhab and ISIS that non-Wahhabis should be killed without a long education.
Yeah, because both have their own proofs, right? Now, is there one that is more correct than the other? I would say no. I would say it all depends on the crime, right? If it's something as simple as like we mentioned earlier, like praying to the grave, like you're doing sujood to the grave, right? And there is no like misconception that you're actually praying towards the Qibla. No, you're turned away from the Qibla. You're praying to the grave. You're a kafir. If you're somebody that's like lighting candles on graves because you've seen people do it, maybe you like live in I don't know, America, maybe live in Texas, and you've seen that the kuffar, the Christians, when somebody dies, they light candles on their grave. So maybe like in the place where he was killed, etc. They hold a vigil, right? So if you adopt this because you don't know that it is something like only that Christians do, you maybe think that it's something that everybody does. You don't want your dead ones to like feel as you're not thinking of them or something like that, right? So you maybe light a candle. Obviously, that's like that's firstly a weird act, right? But you don't know that. Is it a kufr? According to Ibn Akil, you're a kafir if you do that. Okay, so it's like his opinion. But I wouldn't make takfir on somebody that lights candles on graves like unknowingly, right? So they should like be given a time frame to like realize. Maybe they believe that it's in the hadith, right? So maybe given like a week to study and see that it isn't in the hadith, and like he has to stop doing it, right? It depends, right? Like I said, if you see somebody like doing sujood to a grave, it's obvious. But some other matters, it's like it's less clear, and people should give a chance to like figure out on their own.
According to them, it's all legitimate ikhtilaf. Many Wahhabi YouTubers will claim that they don't agree with ISIS massacres, but it's not that they don't agree with ISIS massacres because
again, like this moron keeps showing the seal of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Shahada, and like to make us hate it. A'udhu billah. He's such a mushrik.
They think ISIS is a deviant group with deviant usul. In reality, they disagree with ISIS just as a matter of practical ijtihad. It's an ikhtilafi issue for them, like the ikhtilaf between Hanafis and Shafis on whether eating shrimp is halal. This is also why Wahhabi YouTubers will never call out Ibn Abdul Wahhab
Again, trying to frame Farid and Jake as
ISIS as deviants for killing Sufis
A'udhu
and
billah.
Shia. They might not personally accept the mass killings of Sufis and Shia done by Ibn Abdul Wahhab and ISIS, but they don't think that the mass killing of Sufis and Shia is due to deviance. They just chalk it up to a difference of opinion.
Yeah, you know what? You could actually say that's a correct view, because if these people have done shirk, like you, Haqiqatjou can agree as well. Like let's say we're talking about the Hindus now, right? Because you don't view them as Muslims yet. If you see like a Hindu, you know, let's say we are fighting Hindus, right? And there's you believe that they should be given jizya, and I believe that jizya doesn't apply to them. Why? Because they're not the Persians, Ahlul Kitab. They're not Ahlul Kitab at all, right? And the Hanafi saying that the Hindus can pay jizya. That's moronic, and you can see the results in India today because of that fatwa. In any case, Haqiqatjou believes you can take jizya from the Hindus. I believe you can't. That's a difference of opinion. I believe that if they don't live, you know, the what happens to them? They have the ability to like become Muslims, leave, or fight. Okay, and that's the difference of opinion, right? Same thing here when we're talking about somebody that's worshiping graves. Like, how much should you like explain it to them before you accept it and stuff like that? It depends. Shiites as well, like when should you fight them? I mean, most scholars, like classical scholars, they believe that you should fight them at once. As soon as you like see clear kufr from them, you should fight them. Obviously, Haqiqatjou disagrees with this, right? He believes even a Rafidi can be a Muslim. A'udhu billah. So yeah, you could say it's a difference of opinion. It's a bit more complex than that, but yeah. If you view them as a mushrik, as a kafir, even Haqiqatjou would agree that you will need to fight them.
Ikhtilaf. Of course, there are some Wahhabis, in particular the Madkhalis, who make a big deal about having a problem with ISIS and consider them a deviant group, but their issue with ISIS is not that ISIS is mass takfiring and mass killing Sufis and Shia. Their problem with ISIS is that ISIS does not have the backing of the Wali al-Amr, meaning they're not backed by a state government.
I mean, if you that's a stupid argument from them, because even like Ibn Saud wasn't backed by Wali al-Amr, right? He fought the Ottomans, right? So they were the Khawarij, the Saudis. And secondly, like that's also something I see like misapplied constantly, the term Khawarij. The Khawarij is someone that does khuruj. Khuruj means like rebellion, right? To exit from. And the traditional Salafi understanding is it's to exit from the leader, right? To rebel against the leader, the Muslim leader. So like groups like ISIS that's like sprung up, and not only ISIS, like for instance Ansar al-Sunnah and ISIS, they fought, but Ansar al-Sunnah are a Muslim group, like the FSA, you know, in Syria, Free Syrian Army, Jolani, his Jabhat al-Nusra, etc. Like they did khuruj on the ruler, but the ruler was not a Muslim, so you cannot say that they are Khawarij. Now the Madkhalis, they will then say something that they've started doing. I've noticed they say they didn't do khuruj on the ruler, they did khuruj on the ummah. Okay, they did the khuruj on the ummah. They killed Muslims. They did khuruj on the ummah. That's why they're Khawarij. This is a bid'ah. This has nothing to do with Islam. How can you do khuruj on an ummah? That's ridiculous. So yeah, don't take Madkhali serious in this matter. They will like attack anybody that is against their Waliul Khamr, right? But see, for instance, Julani today, he's the new president of Syria or whatever. He's the ruler, okay? And the Madkhalis, they're not attacking him anymore. Like 5 years ago, he was a Khariji, dog of hellfire. And today he's the president, mashallah. He did so good for Syria. He removed that kafir Assad, right? But if their states, if they didn't accept Jolani, like if Saudi Arabia didn't accept Jolani, they will still call him a dog of hellfire. So don't take Madkhali serious on this matter. Like they'll just follow what the what their scholars, their palace scholars, tell them to believe.
That's literally their only issue. If ISIS were being openly backed by the Saudi government, then Madkhalis would have no problem with them. When Madkhalis denounce ISIS as takfiri, they don't have a problem with ISIS mass takfiring Muslims. They have a problem with ISIS takfiring the Gulf rulers. That's literally their only problem.
Well, yeah, if you're like reading their hearts, what they actually believe in, yeah, probably. But obviously, Madkhalis will not admit to this.
This is how all the different strands of Wahhabism, whether ISIS or Madkhali or Haddadi, all of them are united in their hatred and mass takfir of the Ummah. You can even do this to test yourself. Next time you come across a Wahhabi, ask him if he condemns the bombing of a Sufi, Ash'ari, or a Shia mosque. If the
He just had to add the Shia mosque in there. Haqiqatjou really wants to like make a new form of Islam that unites all these like deviant sects, like the Shiites and the Brelevi. You know what I'm talking about, the Maturidis and the Sufis. He wants to unite all these groups under Islam, you know, the one saved sect. So it doesn't matter if you pray to 12 imams or one imam, you know, it's all the same. He like constantly keeps like putting in like, you know, Shiites. He keeps on mentioning like the Shia mosque, the Shia Muslims, etc. Why doesn't he say the Qadiani Muslims? Why doesn't he say the Baha'i Muslims? Why doesn't he say the Yazidi Muslims? Right? They are also Muslims, monotheist. They worship an angel, you know, but they're Muslims, you know, you can't make takfir on them. Yeah, so it's so obvious that Haqiqatjou is like trying to like create this blend of so-called Islam.
the Wahhabi
It's
is an ISIS type,
pathetic.
he'll say, of course I don't condemn the bombing of a Sufi, Ash'ari, or Shia mosque. That's legit.
Yeah, but like I can ask you the same thing. Do you condemn Assad's gassing of the children of Ghouta? Do you condemn that? You haven't condemned it once. You have never condemned it. Again, go on his website, search gassing, because they have like tens or hundreds of incidents where it has happened. And as you can see, he hasn't mentioned it once. It was again that Ramzan guy that wrote an article that Haqiqatjou let him publish in 2021. That doesn't even like say that it happened. And don't forget that Haqiqatjou himself retweeted this Kate Woods guy who believes that Assad is gassing his own people. This is like a conspiracy theory. I mean, like it's not true. Like he believes that this didn't happen. That Assad, that dog Assad didn't gas his own people, right? With sarin gas in Ghouta and all other kinds of gases and chemical weapons. Haqiqatjou retweeted this. So is he gonna condemn Assad? Is he gonna condemn the gassing of the children of Ghouta? Because like, why should we as Muslims care so much about some Sufi or Shia mosque where they worship a grave? If it actually like if there is such an attack, I don't care about that. If an attack happens there, right? Obviously, if a Muslim dies there because maybe he was ignorant. Many like of these reverts. There's this this brother that I started following recently. He's from the Balkans as well, called Bobby's Perspective, and he has he's still, you know, a new Muslim, right? He doesn't know a lot about Islam. He has been Muslim for I think a year or two, maybe, I don't know, and like he like started exploring Shia Islam. He wrote because he was ignorant. He doesn't know. He didn't know about like what the beliefs of the Shia were, but then he started studying it and he noticed like, yeah, this is this is BS, right? Yeah, Shia Islam versus Christianity. So he realized at once, yeah, this is basically like Christianity. So why should I go back to my kufr, right? That I used to believe in. So this is what I meant when I said like the reverts. They're the most like clear-headed when it comes to kufr. They realize it so easily. They can see it like in the night. They have night vision, kufr night vision. Allahu Akbar. Because they have been kuffar, they hate kufr, they want Islam, they want tawheed, right? They want purity, monotheism, and they can easily like recognize this. So alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide his brother. He's apparently some issues something serious has happened. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for him. If you have, time, obviously I don't really have a platform. I only have like 13 subscribers now, but inshallah, the channel will continue growing as people want to see the truth about Haqiqatjou and his lies, and other stuff that I will publish, and get in here and help him if if he's still on the pure Aqidah, right? If he Billah hasn't left the religion or something like that, come in and help him, inshallah. We need more people like him, like the way he is, he's very unapologetic. He's not gonna sugarcoat anything. I like this. This is how everybody needs to be. Don't sugarcoat kufr and try to like sell it as something acceptable, like Haqiqatjou is doing. Like don't forget, Haqiqatjou, he used to say that he was a revert because he left Shiism and came to Islam. And recently he has said that he never reverted, that he has always been a Muslim. So he changed up his game. So suddenly you can be a Muslim and be a Shiite. So technically he just like changed his madhab according to like his own definition, which is just disgusting to imagine.
Legitimate jihad. If the Wahhabi is a Madkhali type, you have to modify your question slightly. You have to ask, if the Gulf rulers ordered the bombing of a Sufi, Ash'ari, or Shia mosque, would you then condemn it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this will be a hard question to answer for the Madkhalis. As a Muslim, like if something like that happens to Ahlul Kufr, right? I don't care. I honestly could not care less. If like the raid on Karbala that he was talking about, listen, if 100 raids happen on Karbala, I wouldn't care, Haqiqatjou, okay? No Muslim should care about that. We don't care about Karbala, okay? So, like, get it out of your system. We don't care about that. But the Madkhali, they might find this question hard.
The Madkhali would say, of course I don't condemn it. That's the legitimate actions of the ruler. If the Wahhabi is a Haddadi type, and you ask him to condemn the bombing of a Sufi, Ash'ari, or Shia mosque, he might do taqiyya at first and say something generic like, oh,
yeah, it's only the Sunnis that do taqiyya, right? Not the Shiites.
Oh, I don't agree with indiscriminate violence.
Yeah, because if he said, yeah, I agree with it, he's gonna go to jail. He's gonna get tortured and killed, right? Like, I don't like these Haddadi people either from what I know about them. But yeah, like no person, Haqiqatjou, like do you condemn some random action of violence that can get you in jail in USA? Like you called for more terrorist attacks against the West. Like, do you condemn the terrorist attacks? Well, you put them in the video lamenting how Shiites were being killed instead of Westerners. Come on.
But this is just playing word games. Sure, you don't believe in indiscriminate violence, but you do believe in discriminate violence, namely violence that discriminately targets Sufis, Ash'aris, and Shia.
Like, but this is something that you have been attacking Westerners for, like secularists and atheists, for the longest time. You also believe in discriminate violence against non-Muslims, right? According to the fiqh of Islam, you believe in discriminate violence. Or have you like thrown all that away as well? Like you don't believe in that anymore? Do you believe that the expansion of Islam was unjustified then? I mean, come on, man. Like, you're changing up too much at once. You have to then clarify your old positions.
And non-Wahhabis more generally, ask him specifically, do you condemn the mass takfir and slaughter of Sufis, Ash'aris, Shia, and non-Wahhabis? And do you...
Well, like, at the same time, you can add, like, Christians, Hindus, pigs and apes, you know? Like, you're adding in a bunch of sects, bro. Obviously, he's gonna condemn, like, he's gonna be honest to his own beliefs and say, yeah, I believe that you should kill these people or that people, stuff like that, you know? Obviously, violence is bad, violence is wrong. I hope, like, hopefully we will live in a world where there will be no more violence. But as you can see in Gaza, the enemies will continue using violence against us, so we will have to use violence back, right?
Consider this to be deviant? At this point, the Haddadi is stuck, because if he does condemn all this as deviance, he'll also have to condemn his Sheikh Ibn Abdul Wahhab as a deviant, and he won't do that. At most, he can say that he just doesn't agree with the ijtihad of those Wahhabis who do slaughter Sufis, Ash'aris, and Shia and bomb their mosques. But it's just an ikhtilaf.
Like, how often does that happen? Like, once every 10 years or something? Like, who cares?
Issue, not a matter of deviance or deviant aqidah. This is how you smoke out the Wahhabis and expose them for their violent hatred towards 95% of the ummah. The other important point about the subjectivity of the excuse for ignorance is that Wahhabis use this as a blackmail tactic. Again, the key characteristic of the principle for excusing for ignorance is that it's highly subjective. Since the Wahhabis have justifications for why 95% of the Ummah have kufr beliefs.
Bro, where do you get the 95% from? What? Are you using polls or something? Like who says it's 95%? Can you show me some proof for that?
They can always claim that any particular Muslim is upon kufr and has already received sufficient education.
No, like if you follow your madhab, your beliefs, then we'll say that he's upon 95% kufr, right? But he's a 5% Islam. It's not 99% kufr.
And hence should be considered a kafir and fought through jihad. Alternatively, the Wahhabi can always claim that this particular Muslim has not received sufficient education and hence he's ignorant and should not be declared a kafir and he should not be fought, at least not yet. This is extremely important for understanding Wahhabis. Wahhabis have already collected evidence. They've collected a file which to their minds proves that every single non-Wahhabi endorses kufr in some form or fashion. The only question is whether to declare them kafirs now and fight them now or give them some more time to a later date. What guides Wahhabis in these decisions is nothing but political interests rather than principles. Whenever a non-Wahhabi opposes Wahhabi rule...
I mean, honestly, that's like literally every government out there, right? Like doing stuff that they believe is like beneficial for them at the moment. I mean, not even governments, like even people.
In political interests, Wahhabis declare him to be a kafir who's received sufficient instruction. But whenever a non-Wahhabi doesn't oppose the Wahhabis, they just excuse him as being ignorant and they leave him alone. It's actually really sick how these Wahhabis operate. It's like they have this loaded gun pointed at everyone. Whenever Wahhabis
like the way he's describing so-called Wahhabis, he's literally talking about the Rafida. This is literally how the Rafida operate.
Counter a political rival or a potential ideological opponent who will not submit to them, they do detailed research into this person's beliefs. If this person's beliefs aren't public, the Wahhabis will demand that he make public his beliefs. And if the person...
But that's what you're telling your... Bro, that's literally what you're saying. How can you be this contradictory? You're telling people, go and ask all these other people, do you condemn this? Do you condemn that? And then you're saying like, oh, these Wahhabis, they're hiding their beliefs, right? And they ask other people to go and tell their beliefs so they can like takfir them. But that's literally what you're doing, saying to other people, do you condemn this and that and whatever? Like, come on, man.
Refuses to do this, the Wahhabis say he's hiding his aqidah, and hiding your aqidah makes you a deviant. They then continuously...
Yeah, but that's literally what you're saying about the Wahhabis, that they are doing taqiyya, that they are hiding their beliefs.
Harass this opponent with aqidah test after aqidah test, demanding that he answer questions in order to gather more material and build up a file of alleged kufr beliefs. Then they use that file to attack the opponent. They start by calling him a deviant, but if he refuses to bend the knee, they escalate to saying that he's upon kufr or he is a shirk apologist. And if
this is because Farid, the response, called you a shirk apologist, right?
He still refuses to submit to these Wahhabis. They then declare him a kafir. At that point, they know that declaring him a kafir means that he's an apostate, which means his blood is halal. And of course, this is precisely what the Wahhabis have been doing to me. This is how Wahhabis operate. And in the context of social media, these are the tactics Wahhabis use to make sure no social media figure, sheikh, imam, or da'i openly opposes them or calls out the deviance of Wahhabism.
Bro, this is such a waste of time watching this. I have no idea who will watch this and see anything beneficial in this.
From the very beginning, the House of Saud has used the takfiri ideology of Ibn Abdul Wahhab to advance its geopolitical interests. Just consider the biggest political opponents of Saudi since the 18th century till today. Traditional Sunnis like the Ottomans were the first major enemy.
Yeah, traditional in what way? In the traditional graves they worshipped? Like all of them worship the same graves? Come on, bro.
Of the nascent Saudi state. Ibn Abdul Wahhab labeled them as kafir mushriks and said that offensive jihad is necessary to cleanse their shirk from the Arabian Peninsula and beyond. The Saudi state, of course, promoted these teachings most intensely between the 18th and early 20th centuries when it was at war with the...
I mean, this is maybe like the Ottomans. They had like built a huge mausoleum from the Prophet's grave, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And the Shia came there to worship the Prophet, A'udhu Billah. Imagine like the state of it, like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the grave, not able to like stop them. This mushrikeen coming to worship him, A'udhu Billah. Imagine that, like you're the Prophet of God, and you have to like ask yourself, did I fail? A'udhu Billah. Imagine like the state of it. So obviously it was something good to come there and like stop this this grave worship of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Haqiqatjou dislikes this. Why? Because he's a Rafidi, and the Rafida, they love worshipping their graves, especially the graves of the prophets.
Ottoman Caliphate. 12-verse Shia, like those in Iraq and Iran, were also labeled by Ibn Abdul Wahhab and his followers as kafir mushriks. The Saudi state promoted these ideas in the early 19th century and then strongly again after the Iranian Revolution in 1979.
Yeah, so yeah, the Saudi state, it's bad. What can I tell you? It's like 20% of the population in Saudi Arabia are Shiites. In like is it Qatif, the eastern part of the country, where there's like the most oil. So they like change their tune so they won't have like an insurgency on their oil supply.
The Saudi monarchy feared that an Islamic revolution like what happened in Iran would also happen in Saudi and topple their rule. So for these political reasons, they aggressively spread the idea that 12ers are kafir mushriks. In reality, most non-Saudi affiliated Sunni scholars of modern times consider 12ers to be Muslims, and even many of the greatest Sunni
Not even true. Yeah, the misguided ones. How can you believe that you're Muslim if you worship 12 imams? Come on, bro. Like 12 imams that control the entirety of the universe.
scholars of history consider them to be Muslim, including Ibn Taymiyyah, Al-Ghazali, Ibn Abidin.
Not true. He's lying. He's lying. The Shiites of the past, yeah. If there is a Shiite today, he says he's a Shia because he believes Ali, radiallahu anhum, should have been like the caliph instead of Abu Bakr or whatever. Yeah, maybe. You know, he can be a Muslim if he says that. If he has some beliefs like he's celebrating the birthday of Ali or stuff like that, it's bid'ah, but he's not a mushrik. That was like a level of Shiites that Ibn Taymiyyah was dealing with, right? So but he made it crystal clear that Rafida are not Muslims. And who are the Rafida? The Rafida of the past are like what today you will view as a moderate Shiite, okay? They didn't have these like ceremonies and stuff like that because they didn't control any land where they could do it, right? After especially like the Fatimids were destroyed. What did Ibn Taymiyyah say when Salahuddin defeated the Rafidites in the Fatimids, right? He celebrated it. He wrote a book about it called Fathul Masr, something like that. Fathul Masr, like the opening or the victory of Egypt. Now, why would somebody who believes that these are Muslims celebrate that they lost power? I mean, come on, use your head.
Ibn Abidin and others. Islamists, like the Muslim Brotherhood, have also been labeled by Ibn Abdul Wahhab followers as Khariji kafirs, or they're at minimum
Yeah, but how do you view the Muslim Brotherhood? Do you view them as Muslims or are they Khawarij?
extreme deviants who deserve to be killed. Again, this religious ruling.
Yeah, the only reason Saudis dislike them is because they are like they want to topple the Saudi government and like install their own like a light version of Islam.
Is based purely on the political interests of the Saudi state since 1979. Saudi most heavily promoted anti-Islamist sentiment in the 1990s to repress the Ikhwan-inspired Sahwa movement, which was growing in influence in the country. Eventually, opposition to the Sahwa movement led to the emergence of Madkhalism. Madkhalism became even more prevalent over the past 2 decades of the war on terror and then the Arab Spring, effectively becoming a tool to advocate Saudi secularization. And as we all know, Madkhalis today are the biggest promoters of Saudi normalization with Israel. They don't always say that they want normalization with Israel directly. Rather, they support.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. What he said is partially true, partially false, but like, yeah, it's mainly true.
Or Israel indirectly by, for example, opposing any boycott of Israel.
Many of the ulama, they said boycotting is haram. It's not up to you, Habibi. It's not.
This talk about boycotting, do you think that you're gonna like break the back of the Israeli state by boycotting it, like boycotting McDonald's and Starbucks? It's not. It's like the minimal you can do, right? Just not buy Israeli products. Don't buy them. There's no point to buying it. These people like talking about why you shouldn't boycott Israel and stuff like that. Like obviously they're like paid shills, right? The state that they are in, like this guy in the Emirates, it's telling them like, oh, you have to tell your gullible followers not to boycott Israel because we are normalizing with Israel. Yeah, like what can you say?
Not up to you, Habibi.
They've also shamelessly attacked Palestinians, claiming that Palestinians are mushrik, grave worshippers, and are in fact deviants because they ally with Shia Iran.
Yeah, I don't care about these Madkhalis.
Have become a primary target of this politically motivated sectarianism. Why? Because in 2020 secularization agenda,
it's all of this Saudi politics. Like I have nothing to add to that. Yeah, let's skip it. I don't give a crap about Saudi state. Inshallah, it will fall sooner than later.
My problem with the Wahhabis is not that they're harsh or arrogant. That's not the main issue. My problem is they're a deviant neo-Khariji group that's at war with Ahl Sunnah.
How are they neo-Khariji when they've been around for like 300 years?
They're a Khariji group that has transformed La ilaha
Oh, so they are a Khariji group now, not a neo-Khariji?
illallah into a war cry against Muslims.
What? War crime against Muslims? Like, how can it be a war crime against Muslims when the Shahada is said by Muslims?
This is what Ibn
Obviously, like, you're doing something to negate the Shahada. You cannot say, even like the atheists, they say La ilaha, right? They are half Muslims, right? And the mushrikun of Mecca, they also used to say La ilaha illallah, but there are gods besides, right? There's no God as strong and mighty as Allah. But these weaker gods, they have their own powers, they have, like they borrow power from Allah and stuff like that. They had like different beliefs. But they also believed partially in La ilaha illallah, at least in the fact that like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the like highest and mightiest of gods, right? Like Zeus in Greek theology, pagan Greek theology.
Abedin, Asawi, and many other scholars from the 18th and 19th centuries have said. Wahhabis will respond and say that, yes, we're harsh, but that's because we love Islam so much. But
yeah, that's something that people don't understand. What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, and like the Sahaba after him? They said, don't fight the Khawarij, like leave them alone. Let them like sit around and recite Quran and stuff like that until they start fighting Muslims. Then you fight them. Like leave them alone, unless obviously they like, we're talking about as long as they're viewed as Muslims, right? If they start innovating like the leaves, that for instance Surah Yusuf is addition to the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not recite it. I mean, did not give it to us to recite. Obviously they have committed kufr and they should be fought. We are talking about them. They accept like they don't do any shirk. Okay, they don't do any shirk. They don't do any kufr. Leave them alone. Let them practice what they believe is Islam. Leave them alone unless they start killing Muslims. Then you have to fight them.
But if unbridled, indiscriminate harshness were the mark of Orthodox Islam, then the most Orthodox Muslims would be the Khawarij. But as we know, the Khawarij are...
No, it wouldn't, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he cursed them. Because they recite Quran, but they don't understand it, right? It doesn't leave their throats. They fight the Muslims. They don't expand Islam. They fight the Muslims. But they are still viewed as Muslims, right? They don't view us as Muslims, but we should view them as Muslims. Because they're not doing any shirk, they're not doing any kufr, right? We should not be unjust towards them. And the best way to fight them is with debates, right? Not with the sword. Because in the end, you're spilling Muslim blood. And it can be spilled over nothing or misconceptions, etc. Like the Khawarij during the time of the Sahaba, saying that Laysa hukum illa billah, something like that. Hukum illa billah. The ruling is for none but Allah. Their misunderstanding of this ayah, right? I know some interesting examples where you could say it's a hukum, right? If where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that people should come to the hukum, right? So if you like kill an animal in ihram when you go to Hajj, you're not supposed to hunt. So, but if you do it, then people should like come together and say what is like a justifiable sum for you to pay, right? For the animal that you killed. Which is obviously the hukum is not there for Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the people ability to do the hukum. Like what's it gonna cost? Similar also is like if a husband and a wife are like squabbling, they want a divorce or stuff like that. You send like an arbitrator from like the wife's side and from the husband's side, and they like come together and speak about possibility for them to stay together and not like get a divorce, right? Obviously, in that case, the arbiter, you're doing arbitration. The hukum, the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the hukum to like come to an arbitration. Now you're not like putting laws, right? You're not putting laws. You're not putting laws in place. But this is not what the Khawarij like. They misunderstood that. Like the Sahaba, they were not putting any law in place. They were trying to come to an arbitration on what to do, right? And then it all ballooned, and they said, oh, then Ali radiallahu anhu must be like a kafir because he's accepting like arbitration. He's accepting a hukum, but hukum illa billah, right? Obviously, the people, they were very zealous. That's the reason. They loved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They loved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they were ignorant. They didn't understand, right? And this is the same thing that Haqiqatjou is doing with the masses right now. He's like giving like fake evidences and stuff like that. Like he's not even at the level of the Khawarij. Like obviously the ghira he has for the deen is like zero, but he's giving like half truths and stuff like that, not explaining the entirety of the thing and like leading people astray on purpose. While the Khawarij, they were just ignorant; they didn't know any better. So at least they can be like they have an excuse of ignorance in the things they did, right?
A deviant group who waged war on the Sahaba and the Salaf. They were in fact the first Islamic heresy. The descendants of the Khawarij are Ibn Abdul Wahhab and his followers, and like the Khawarij, their main problem is
like if you say heresy, like that's a loaded word, right? Because that gives implications. You're saying that Ali radiallahu anhum had heretics in his army, like Audu Billah, like you cannot say stuff like that. That means that he like allowed them to, he was in close cooperation with them, and it's weird, it's bad. You have to use your words more carefully, Haqiqatjou. Obviously, they became like heretics like later when they started doing takfir and all the other stuff. Started like saying that Surah Yusuf was fake and stuff like that. Use your words more carefully, Haqiqatjou. You have to be more careful.
They takfir all other Muslims, or at minimum accuse them of committing shirk. They have no right to call themselves Ahlul Sunnah when in reality they are at war with Ahlul Sunnah. They're not orthodox, they're Khawarij, and they should get no credit.
Again, see how like he could have cut off the picture, so like you don't see the flag, right? Can cut the picture like this, but no, he shows the flag because he hates Tawheed, he hates La ilaha illallah.
For eliminating shirk in Arabia. Many Muslims in Ibn Abdul Wahhab's time were also opposed to shirk practices. They just didn't combine that with mass takfir, offensive jihad against Muslims, and a religious political alliance with a warlord in the way that Ibn Abdul Wahhab did. In reality, Ibn Abdul Wahhab didn't start a movement to eliminate shirk. He started a movement to eliminate Sunnism and replace it with Kharijism. And this Kharijism continues to plague the Muslim world with groups like the Madkhalis, with groups like the Salafi sectarians, and ISIS. May Allah grant us true hidayah.
Especially for you. Yeah, so that's the end of his so-called documentary. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Honestly, like 90% of it, 95% maybe even, was it's just BS. It's like made up stuff. It's him changing like the meaning of stuff and what people said and what they did, and it was a waste of time. If anybody watched this so-called documentary and thought that they found something, something beneficial in it, then wallah, you are mistaken. Okay, you are mistaken. You did not find anything beneficial. You have just been lied to for 3.5 hours. You have been lied to. You have been bamboozled, basically. The only things that I can agree with him like 100% is the Saudi state. They were bad. The Madkhalis, they're bad. Okay, we agree, but that like that doesn't make you right. Okay, that just makes you less wrong. Like if I made a documentary where I put like 95% lies against Haqiqatjou and then 5% is how Christians are not Muslims, does that make the documentary correct? Come on. Such a disgusting person. Like he didn't used to be this way. I mean, he used to lie and hide his beliefs much better. That's what I'm saying. And his face like outwards, it was not like this. He changed. Like the biggest change was when he started doing his so-called Haqiqatjou, right? Started defending Iran and all of that more openly after October 7th. So I'll say like around 2023, he started going like downhill fast. And this is like basically him showing us his Aqidah right now. He believes Maturidis always Muslims, Sufis always Muslims, Shia Muslims always Muslims. Okay, Shia Muslims in quotes, obviously, but he's thinking of Rafida, right? There is no Rafidi. According to him, there is no Rafidi. There's no Rafidi in Iran, no Rafidi in Iraq. They're only just like more extreme Shia Muslims. So there is nothing to say. Waste of time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again make his wife leave him, his children abandon him, and either guide him or destroy him. Amin ya Rab.